Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. After marrying the vegetative female devil, I was so happy. Chapter 81. One of the 8 main peaks of the White Feather Sect, Yinghui Peak. In an extremely hidden secret room. At this time, there were 3 figures standing in the secret room, looking at each other. Surprisingly, it was Chu Baiquan, Dang Huo, and Hu Han, the 6th elder who was not in the White Feather Sect before. As the 6th elder of the divine religion, Hu Han's realm has reached the 5th level of the Cave Ruins realm. He was now wearing a jet black robe, and even his head was hidden in the cloak. Great Elder, are you really sure that he will be on our side? After Hu Han returned to the White Feather Sect, he also learned about Chu Baiquan's estrangement between Si Chen and Luo Zhiro. Hu Han had never been in contact with Si Chen, so he still had some doubts about Chu Baiquan's actions. Faced with Hu Han's doubts, Chu Baiquan said indifferently, I have been in contact with him many times and understand his character. He will not be willing to be a burial object for a dying person. So he will definitely stand by our side. Of course, if he has any dissatisfaction with you or me in the future, then we will have to go to the trouble of Senior Mu to make him into a puppet. Haha, it's just a little effort. Quote exclamation mark. Quote. Just as Chu Baiquan finished speaking, an old voice came from the shadows behind the 3 people. Immediately afterwards, a hunched figure holding a cane slowly walked out of the shadows. The moment this figure appeared, Chu Baiquan and the 3 of them took a step back at the same time and bowed. Senior Mu. Haha, the 3 elders don't have to be so polite to me, an old guy buried up to his neck in Lois. Having said that, the old man went straight to the head of the table in the secret room. After the old man sat down, Chu Baiquan and the other 3 sat down in their seats. When facing the old man in front of them, the eyes of Chu Baiquan and the others were full of respect. Let's not talk about the old man's method that can make a 9th level master of the tribulation realm fall into a state of soullessness in an instant. His cultivation alone was far superior to the 3 of them, which was enough to make them feel in awe. That's right, the person in front of you is standing behind Chu Baiquan. It is also the source of the black energy in Chu Baiquan's hand. Chu Baiquan was the first to say, Senior Mu, Luo Zhiro has been in a coma for more than several months. I wonder when we can take action. The old man looked at Chu Baiquan with his turbid eyes, without any emotion in his eyes. Great Elder, you said you would deal with the junior next to Luo Zhiro. But after so long, what progress have you made? Facing the old man's gaze, Chu Baiquan's heart skipped a beat. He quickly said respectfully, Senior Mu, I have successfully alienated his relationship with Luo Zhiro. This boy's talent is extremely high, and his cultivation has reached the Cave Ruins realm. If he can win us over, he will definitely provide us with great help. I don't want to wait any longer. The old man suddenly interrupted Chu Baiquan's words. The help of a Cave Ruins realm is dispensable. I don't know whether the old man said this to Chu Baiquan, or to Dang Huo and Hu Han. Because all of them are in the Cave Ruins realm. The old man's eyes swept across the 3 people present. As you just said, if you call him, I will make him into a puppet. Hearing the old man's words, Chu Baiquan and the 3 of them were shocked. They had already seen the old man's unpredictable methods. Therefore, they had no doubts about the old man's ability to turn Si Chen into a puppet. Especially Dang Huo, because this method of the old man is the key to Dang Huo joining Chu Baiquan and others. Chu Baiquan and the old man once promised Dang Huo that as long as Dang Huo could help them successfully control the White Feather Sect, the old man will turn Luo Zhiro into a puppet, completely controlled by Dang Huo. Facing the old man's words, Chu Baiquan nodded heavily. Senior Mu, I will call him here later. At this time, the old man suddenly said, It's not just him, there are other elders. The old man's eyes flashed with blood. I will personally take action against those stubborn people who refuse to give up on Luo Zhiro. As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely rich black energy began to spit out from the old man's body. Under the exaggeration of this black energy, dense magic patterns began to appear on his body. At the same time, his hoarse and crazy voice also sounded faintly in the ears of Chu Baiquan and the others. Luo Zhiro, I will repay you every bit of the pain you have inflicted on me. On the Rakshasa Peak, in the room. Bad guy, you can eat your own food from now on. Luo Zhiro held an ice blue spirit fruit that had been half bitten off in her hand, pouting at Si Chen. But the ice flame spirit fruit in Si Chen's hand was still intact and had not been touched. Si Chen took Luo Zhirou's hand and looked at her with a wicked smile. No, I only ate half of it. Humph, my supervisor, can you do it? As if she wanted to vent her grievances from Si Chen on the fruit in her hand, Luo Zhiro took a big bite of the spiritual fruit. Because the bite was too big, Luo Zhiro mumbled a bit when she spoke. She folded her arms tightly in front of her chest, as if she was afraid that Si Chen would do anything to her again. You bad guy, you don't forget to bully me even if you eat something. You clearly promised to only eat spiritual fruits, but in the end you ate something. This leader will never believe you again. While Luo Zhiro kept making lofty words, Si Chen held Luo Zhirou's waist. He got close to Luo Zhirou's face and stared at her eyes without blinking. Hey, you, what are you going to do? Suddenly being treated like this by Si Chen, Luo Zhirou's speech became a little unsmooth. Si Chen looked into Luo Zhirou's eyes and whispered to her, Madam, should you change the way you address me? Change the title. Luo Zhiro paused lightly. Change it to what? Si Chen's expression suddenly turned sad and angry. Since we got married, I have always called you my wife. But after all this time, I have never heard my wife call me husband. I'm so hard. Sitting on Si Chen's lap, Luo Zhiro suddenly froze when she heard Si Chen's words. She thought about it carefully, and it seemed that as Si Chen said, she had never formally called Mr. Si Chen. Looking at Si Chen's expectant expression, Luo Zhirou's eyes were also watery. Call me husband, it's so embarrassing. Luo Zhiro opened her mouth slightly, but failed to shout out after several attempts. No, I can't shout. I'm not ready yet, Si Chen shouted weakly. No, madam, are you willing to let your husband-in-law just wait like this? A man has 21 flowers, and you must water him with love. If you don't get your wife's love, your husband will become dry. Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro couldn't help but laugh out loud. She pinched Si Chen's arm lightly. Bah, bad guy, what are you talking about? Why haven't I showered you with love? Then call me, madam. Otherwise I will tickle you. You bad guy, give this leader a kick. 3 days passed by in a hurry, and the time Luo Zhiro had planned has arrived. During these 3 days, Si Chen would learn the exercises from Luo Zhiro every day. Luo Zhiro also completely consolidated his cultivation back to its peak with the help of some heavenly materials and earthly treasures. And fate is also so wonderful. Yesterday, a person that neither Si Chen nor Luo Zhiro imagined came to Rakshasa Peak. It is Xie Yao, the core disciple of great elder Chu Baiquan's faction. Xie Yao's purpose in coming to Rakshasa Peak is also very simple. Send a message to Chu Baiquan and ask Si Chen to go to Yinghui Peak. But the way Xie Yao spoke. Master, long time no see, I miss you very much. Tomorrow, the master would like to invite the young master to come to the peak for a visit. I look forward to meeting the young master again. After Xie Yao said these words, he left. She left and left, but Si Chen. Bad guy, I miss you very much. I look forward to meeting you again. What are you going to do when we meet? In order to make up for the serious consequences caused by Xie Yao's words, Si Chen's lips were almost worn out. In the end, it was only through the policy of adding big sticks and jujubes that Qiji Yujiyu Luo Jiru was finally coaxed. In fact, Luo Zhiro knew in her heart that Xie Yao was instigated by Chu Baiquan, but she just didn't like to hear someone say such things to Si Chen. On this day, just as the red clouds rising from the horizon dispersed the darkness of the night, Si Chen slowly opened his eyes. Si Chen leaned down and looked at Luo Zhiro in his arms. The two people's eyes also met together at this time. Si Chen patted Luo Zhiro on the back. Madam, it's still early, why don't you take a nap? Luo Zhiro shook her head gently. There are still business matters to be done. At this moment, Luo Zhiro once again transformed into the demon sect leader who controlled countless lives and deaths. She held Si Chen's hand tightly, with a rare seriousness in her tone. Bad guy, you have to remember what this leader said to you. Once there is any danger, you must leave as soon as possible. You must not let anything happen to you. Si Chen raised his hand and pinched Luo Zhirou's cheek. Madam, your husband has already reached the cave ruins realm and has mastered so many high-level skills. He is not as fragile as you think. That too. Luo Jiru's beautiful eyes widened. Do you listen to what the head of the family says? Looking at Luo Jiru's serious look, Si Chen said helplessly, my wife, doing this always makes me feel like I'm being taken care of. This leader just wants to support you. Tell me you heard me. Si Chen nodded helplessly. You all listen to my wife. Ha, that's pretty much it. After the words fell, the room fell into silence again. At this time, Si Chen suddenly found Luo Jiru in his arms hugging him tightly. She put her face against Si Chen's chest and murmured softly, bad guy, I want you to always be my husband-in-law. Si Chen tightened his arms around Luo Jiru's waist and kissed her gently on the forehead. I will, I promise. Hug me a little longer. Just when the sun fully rose, the 3 elders of the White Feather God Sect also arrived outside Luo Jiru's room. Leader, everyone at King Kong Peak, Zishuan Peak, and Yaohun Peak is ready. Third Elder Yu Hai said in a deep voice, this operation is top secret. Except for the 3 of us, everyone on the peak only treats it as an exercise. After Yu Hai finished speaking, the door of the room was gently pushed open. Under the gazes of Yu Hai, Guan Xian, Sha Wan and Mu Lao Lu, Luo Jiru and Si Chen slowly walked out of the room. At this time, Luo Jiru was wearing a white robe, while Si Chen was wearing a black robe embroidered with gold patterns. After a few months, Luo Jiru walked out of the room behind her again. And this time, the entire structure of the White Feather God Sect will undergo earth-shaking changes. Luo Jiru looked at the 3 elders and the 2 guardians. Third Elder, Fourth Elder, 7th Elder, your mission today is to kill Hu Han. Mr. Mu, Mr. Lu, you are responsible for holding Dang Huo back. Luo Jiru looked towards the sky in the distance, and her voice was full of murderous intent. After I kill Chu Baiquan, I will rush to your side. After hearing Luo Jiru's words, several people in front of him bowed heavily. I obey my orders. Leave. After Luo Jiru finished speaking, the 7 people turned into streams of light and instantly flew in different directions of the White Feather God Sect. Outside Yinghui Peak, Si Chen's figure slowly emerged. And the moment Si Chen appeared, a familiar voice sounded in his ears. Ha ha ha, sir, I haven't seen you for a while. Chu Baiquan's figure walked out from Yinghui Peak and rushed towards Si Chen. Seeing Chu Baiquan flying towards him, Si Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, but no emotion could be seen. Coming closer, Chu Baiquan patted Si Chen's shoulder eagerly. Sir, I wonder how you are lately. Si Chen paused, knowing exactly what Chu Baiquan was asking him. It was nothing more than whether he had withdrawn treatment for Luo Jiru recently, and to what extent Luo Jiru's body had collapsed. Si Chen gave Chu Baiquan a meaningful look and said with a smile, I have lived up to the Great Elder's trust. The recent plan has gone extremely smoothly. Oh, Chu Baiquan's eyes flashed with light. He sent a message to Si Chen. No one discovered what the young master did. Si Chen smiled and nodded. Of course the other party didn't notice it. Ha ha ha. Good, good. Chu Baiquan laughed and patted Si Chen on the shoulder. Young master is indeed a young genius. He is also so thoughtful. Looking at the enthusiastic Si Chen in front of him, Chu Baiquan suddenly felt like he cherished his talent. He even felt that it was a pity that Si Chen was turned into a puppet. Sir, let's go and come to my peak. Yaoer has been waiting for you for a long time. Chu Baiquan grabbed Si Chen's arm and was about to return to Yinghui Peak. But at this moment, he suddenly found that Si Chen beside him did not move. Chu Baiquan looked at Si Chen with some doubts. Master, is there anything else? Si Chen smiled and nodded. Great Elder, I brought you a gift. Oh, Chu Baiquan raised his eyebrows. Young master is so polite. Si Chen waved his hand. It's just a little effort. Faint spatial ripples began to appear in Si Chen's hands, and at the same time, spatial barriers began to appear around Chu Baiquan's body. Si Chen said softly, I'm going to send the Great Elder away. Go to hell. Leave immediately. An old voice suddenly sounded in Chu Baiquan's ears. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Chu Baiquan's heart skipped a beat and he flew towards Yinghui Peak without any hesitation. However, his speed is still much slower than the Tribulation Realm Master after all. Chang. A harsh sword cry sounded, and a cold sword light tore through the space and went straight to Chu Baikuan's back. Seeing that the sword light containing the strongest blow of the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm was about to pierce Chu Baikuan's back of the heart. Just between the electric light and flint, an extremely rich black energy suddenly enveloped Chu Baikuan. The sword light and the black energy collided fiercely. Boom! During the violent energy impact, Chu Baikuan slammed into the ground like a cannonball. The ground on Yinghui Peak was completely shattered, and a circular pit appeared in front of everyone. PFF'd. Cough, cough. Amidst the dust in the sky, a figure was lying weakly in a deep pit, coughing out blood from the mouth. At this moment, Chu Baikuan had only one thought in his mind. Lao Lu, there is Lao Lu among the crowd. Chu Baikuan knew very well that if not for the last moment, the old man's black energy helped him resist part of the damage. There was absolutely no way he could survive under that sword light. For a powerful person at the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm, he is really as insignificant as an ant at the 9th level of the Cave Ruins realm. Struggling to sit up from the pit, Chu Baikuan had an unbelievable thought in his mind. At the same time, he suddenly remembered what Si Chen said before. The recent plans have gone extremely smoothly. After standing up, Chu Baikuan looked towards the sky. Quote exclamation mark quote. Almost instantly, Chu Baikuan's pupils shrank suddenly. Two figures, one black and one white, stood side by side in the sky. Their eyes were fixed on Chu Baikuan below, their eyes burning with intense murderous intent. At this moment, Chu Baikuan's eyes were filled with an incredible look, and he simply didn't want to believe what he was seeing. Why did she wake up suddenly? This is not true. How is it possible? Chu Baikuan had been planning for so many years to obtain the White Feather Sect, and he even did not hesitate to associate with the former enemies of the White Feather Sect. Seeing that his hope is right in front of him, seeing that everything he planned will come true. But just before Chu Baikuan's dawn, Luo Zhiro suddenly appeared in front of him. I almost stabbed him to death with a sword. This is unacceptable to Chu Baikuan no matter what. In the sky, Luo Zhiro frowned slightly as she looked at Chu Baikuan, who stood up slowly from the ground. She could clearly sense that a being on par with her had just helped Chu Baikuan block her sword light. Thinking of this, Luo Zhirou's heart sank. The long sword in her hand was pointed directly at Chu Baikuan. Chu Baikuan colluded with foreign enemies and plotted to murder the leader, and he should be punished for his crime. Chu Baikuan naturally knew that the moment Luo Zhirou woke up, it meant that all his plans would be exposed. So he didn't say anything to beg for mercy or explain. The only way he can take now is to fight with Luo Zhirou to the end. However, Chu Baikuan had that old man behind him, and he had enough confidence in his heart. Luo Zhirou just wants to destroy Chu Baikuan as quickly as possible. She doesn't even want to waste any more words with Chu Baikuan. There were buzzing sounds from the long sword in his hand, and Luo Zhirou rushed towards Chu Baikuan below. At this moment, her cultivation of the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm suddenly exploded. Huge pressure filled the space between heaven and earth, causing everything around to tremble. And just when the sword in Luo Zhirou's hand was about to pierce Chu Baikuan's chest, the black energy that appeared before appeared again. This time, the black energy was more intense than last time, and an old man holding a cane slowly emerged from it. Boom! The long sword in Luo Zhirou's hand collided with the old man's crutch. The violent energy storm caused Chu Baikuan to fly backwards like a piece of paper and hit the building behind him heavily. After one blow, Luo Zhirou and the old man each retreated 100 meters away. The old man slowly raised his head and looked at Luo Zhirou in front of him. Luo Zhirou, do you still remember me? Hearing the old man's voice, Luo Zhirou's eyes narrowed slightly and her tone was extremely cold. Mu Shifeng, you're not dead. At this moment, Luo Zhirou also recognized the person in front of her. Mu Shifeng, once the greatest enemy of the White Feather Sect, the ancestor of the Blood Evil Villa. Blood Fiend Villa and the White Feather Sect are feuding, and Luo Zhirou's master died in the hands of Mu Shifeng. However, after killing Master Luo Zhirou, Mu Shifeng was also seriously injured. When Mu Shifeng came out of seclusion again, Luo Zhirou had already arrived with an army. With Luo Zhirou's cultivation at the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm, the Blood Fiend Villa was undoubtedly massacred by the White Feather Divine Cult. Mu Shifeng was also desperate and was forced by Luo Zhiro to flee into the endless wasteland. But Luo Zhiro never expected that Mu Shifeng was not dead. Instead, he has mastered the black mist that can affect the soul, and his cultivation has reached the 9th level of the tribulation realm. He. Mu Shifeng leaned on the ground with his crutches and said slowly, "How could I die without having a serious consultation with Master Luo? Do you know the price I paid in the endless wasteland?" As Mu Shifeng spoke, his skin covered with magic patterns was also exposed in front of everyone. His eyes were dark and full of hatred. "I gave up everything just to give you back everything you gave me." Luo Zhiro looked at the black energy that filled Mu Shifeng's body. At this time, she finally knew the reason why she entered the soulless state. Originally, Luo Zhiro was still surprised that Mu Shifeng successfully escaped from the endless wasteland. But when she saw the magic marks all over Mu Shifeng's body, she understood everything instantly. No wonder Chu Baiquan was able to obtain the box full of black energy. It turned out that Mu Shifeng was controlling all of this. Luo Zhiro looked at Mu Shifeng with a cold expression, violent power emerging from her body again. She didn't say anything more and rushed straight towards Mu Shifeng in front. Mu Shifeng looked at Luo Zhiro, who was rushing towards him, and his turbid eyes were full of wantonness that a great revenge was about to be avenged. He waved the crutch in his hand, and rich black energy spurted out from his body. "Luo Zhiro, do you recognize this black energy? I won't kill you, but I will let you watch the White Feather Sect be destroyed in my hands." The black energy rushed straight towards Luo Zhiro, but Luo Zhiro didn't give way at all, and the long sword in her hand went straight towards Mu Shifeng's throat. The moment the black energy contaminated Luo Zhirou's body, the fiery red phoenix feather between Luo Zhirou's long hair shone with dazzling light. Rich fiery red light spurted out from the red gold phoenix feathers, completely enveloping Luo Zhiro in it. When that black energy touches the power of the red golden phoenix feather, it is like the first snow touching the blazing sun, instantly being turned into nothingness. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. When Mu Shifeng saw all this, his body shook violently. No matter what, he couldn't believe that his black energy that could infect the soul had no effect on Luo Zhiro. But now he can no longer think so much, the sword in Luo Zhirou's hand has come to him. In this moment of life and death, Mu Shifeng tried his best to swing the crutch in his hand towards Luo Zhirou's sword. Boom! In the violent energy storm, Mu Shifeng's old body flew out upside down. Although he deflected Luo Zhirou's sword edge at the last moment, his shoulder was still penetrated by Luo Zhiro. "Luo Zhiro, what is that?" Mu Shifeng simply couldn't accept what was happening in front of him. He couldn't accept that the power he gained with one switch could not harm Luo Zhiro at all. Seeing Mu Shifeng's hysterical appearance, Luo Zhiro suddenly felt a little proud for some reason. "I have so many good things from my husband, what can you do to win over me?" After the black energy he relied on for survival lost its effect, Mu Shifeng fell into madness. No matter how strong the black energy summoned by Mu Shifeng was, it could not harm Luo Zhiro at all. But the long sword in Luo Zhirou's hand could always leave a hideous wound on his body. The power and domineering power of black energy is something that even Luo Zhiro, the pinnacle of the tribulation realm, must admit. However, Mu Shifeng also paid a huge price in order to obtain this power. His body is extremely weak and far from being comparable to beings of the same level. At the same time, the spiritual power in his body is much thinner than Luo Zhiro. Under the premise that the black energy has lost its effect, if Mu Shifeng does not run away, it is really only a matter of time before he dies under Luo Zhirou's sword. As the battle continues, the originally majestic Yinghui Peak has been completely destroyed. Even the mountain protecting formation was directly shattered by Luo Zhirou's extremely tyrannical power. On the other side, Chu Baiquan was sitting among the ruins, taking out a bottle of elixir from the space ring and taking it, hoping to delay the injury to his body. He also saw the battle taking place in the sky. During the period from just now to now, Chu Baiquan felt that everything he had worked hard for many years was destroyed in an instant. He didn't want to believe it all, but the facts woke him up hard. Seeing Mu Shifeng's black energy that was completely useless under the red gold phoenix feathers, Chu Baiquan knew that there must be an expert helping behind Luo Zhiro. Otherwise, how could she possess the holy weapon? There are not even a few holy weapons to be found in the entire Kinglan world. Seeing that there were more and more wounds on Mu Shifeng's body, black blood splashed all over the sky with the wind. Chu Baiquan knew that he had to leave. While Luo Zhiro is now trapped in the battle, before anyone can stop him. Once Luo Zhiro kills Mu Shifeng, there will be only death waiting for him. After taking another bottle of elixir, Chu Baiquan's injuries finally recovered. He slowly stood up from the ground, hiding his figure and moving towards the depths of Yinghui Peak. But just when Chu Baiquan was about to leave the center of the battlefield, his steps suddenly stopped. The Great Elder is preparing to leave. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him, Chu Baiquan's eyes were full of hatred and disdain. Judging from Si Chen's performance just now, he knew that Si Chen had never been touched by him from beginning to end. Chu Baiquan spat out the blood foam from his mouth on the ground and sneered at Si Chen. If I guessed correctly, Lu Qing, Zhan Rui, Yu Hai and others should have gone to Dang Huo and Hu Han. Si Chen smiled slightly. The Great Elder is wise. Chu Baiquan looked at Si Chen, who was standing alone in front of him, and the roars of ghosts began to come from his withered palms. He looked at Si Chen with disdain in his eyes. You want to stop me? I have to admit that you are a genius. But if you want to stop me, you still have to be a little worse. Golden light slowly appeared in Si Chen's hand, and a golden spear appeared in his hand. Does the Great Elder recognize this spear? Many of your disciples died under this spear. I thought you were going to reunite with them today. Si Chen uncovered the scar, and a surge of anger came out of Chu Baiquan's body. A soul-calling flag appeared out of thin air in his hand, and with a sudden stamp of his feet, it came straight towards Si Chen. And, die. Looking at Chu Baiquan rushing towards him, Si Chen stabbed out a spear flower from the Xingyu spear in his hand, and, Liuku Immortal Thief, was in full operation. The spear in his hand charged towards Chu Baiquan with huge power. At this moment, Si Chen used the 4th level of the Dongshu realm to defeat the 9th level of the Dongshu realm. Boom! A violent energy storm exploded, and Si Chen's cold eyes met Chu Baiquan's. A huge force suddenly burst out from his arms, and the spear in Si Chen's hand directly deflected Chu Baiquan's soul-summoning flag. Boom! Dense cracks suddenly opened in the sky above Si Chen's head, and a shadow of the ancient heaven slowly appeared in the sky above Si Chen. Spiritual energy surging like a waterfall flowed out of the cave and poured straight into Si Chen's body, and his aura began to increase rapidly. Putting the spear in his hand across his chest, Si Chen spread his hands. Behind him, countless shining white flying feathers began to gather. When Chu Baiquan saw the dense white feathers behind Si Chen, his pupils suddenly contracted. White feathers on you. Luo Zhiro even taught you this technique. Si Chen looked at Chu Baiquan and gave him a dangerous smile. Great Elder, the leader and I are husband and wife. Si Chen's words drifted away in the wind, and the extremely dense white flying feathers behind him had completely condensed and formed. Chu Baiquan felt the extremely powerful aura of white feathers on you. A flash of red light suddenly appeared in his hand, and at the same time, Ruan Ren's undead roar also completely enveloped him. Zuzi, die. In an instant, the red light in Chu Baiquan's hand suddenly shot out and went straight to Si Chen's chest. And the flying feathers all over the sky behind Si Chen also attacked Chu Baiquan. Dang dang dang. The extremely dense sound of metal clashing sounded, and dense cracks began to appear in the light mask covering the surface of Chu Baiquan's body. The mask was completely shattered, and Si Chen's body disappeared from the spot. Puff! The next moment, in Chu Baiquan's disbelieving eyes, Si Chen's arm suddenly pierced his chest. Chu Baiquan's divine weapon of creation only hit an afterimage. Immediately afterwards, a majestic suction force suddenly came from Si Chen's arm, and Chu Baiquan felt that his vitality was rapidly diminishing. Under the powerful power of Liuku Immortal Thief, Chu Baiquan's already old body shrank to the extreme in an instant. At this last moment, Chu Baiquan once again saw Si Chen's cold eyes. Great Elder, you shouldn't have any thoughts about my wife. PFF'd. Spare my life. I am willing to repent. Si Chen shook his head gently. It's too late to repent now. Please be more careful in the next life. Bang! Ruan's explosion sounded, and Si Chen crushed Chu Baiquan's heart to pieces. Si Chen slowly pulled out his hand and wiped the blood on Chu Baiquan's clothes. After doing all this, Si Chen's eyes turned to the direction of Luo Zhiro. And Si Chen also saw the scene where Luo Zhiro used the red gold phoenix feather to break through Mu Shifeng's defense and stabbed his long sword into his chest. At this time, several hundred meters apart, Si Chen's eyes met Luo Zhiro's. Luo Zhiro first looked at Si Chen, who had a gentle smile on his face, and then at the dead Chu Baiquan at his feet. A touch of warmth flashed in Luo Zhiro's heart. She stuck out her tongue at Si Chen, showing a cute face, and then quickly turned her head away. Throwing Mu Shifeng's body on the ground, Luo Zhiro rose into the sky. At the highest point of the White Feather Sect, Luo Zhiro's cold words were like the ringing of a bell, resounding throughout the entire White Feather Sect. Chu Baiquan, Dang Huo, and Hu Han colluded with the remnants of Zusha Villa to harm their fellow sect members. Be punished immediately. In 3 days, a clan meeting will be held. The 8 main peaks of the White Feather Sect, on the Yinghui Peak. At this time, Mu Lao, Lu Lao, Yu Hai, Guan Xian, and Sha Wan all came to Luo Zhiro and Si Chen. Below them, Dang Huo and Hu Han, who had completely cooled down, were lying quietly on the ground. Just a moment ago, Luo Zhiro's voice resounded throughout the White Feather cult, causing a huge sensation. At this moment, all the remaining senior officials of the White Feather Sect came to Luo Zhiro. Everyone present looked at the big hole that was dug out of Chu Baiquan's chest, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble. Everyone looked at Si Chen as if they had seen a ghost. Chu Baiquan's cultivation level is clear to everyone present. That is the actual 9th level of the Cave Ruins realm. But even so, he still died tragically in Si Chen's hands. Sha Wan came to Si Chen and looked him up and down. You killed Chu Baiquan with your own hands. Si Chen blinked at Sha Wan. 7th Elder, doesn't it look like that? Sha Wan rolled her eyes at Si Chen. Not only does it look different, but if the leader hadn't been at the scene, no one would have thought that you, a 4th level Dongshu realm, could kill the 9th level Dongshu realm. Pervert, you are indeed a pervert. Xian and I discovered it a long time ago. Regarding Sha Wan's words, Guan Xian nodded with conviction. Ahem. And just when Si Chen was about to speak, Luo Zhiro's light cough suddenly sounded in his ears. Lady. Without talking to Sha Wan anymore, Si Chen quickly came to Luo Zhiro and held her hand with concern on his face. Are you okay? Luo Zhiro never expected that Si Chen would hold her hand in front of so many people. For a moment, a look of panic flashed across Luo Zhiro's pretty face. But seeing so many elders there, she quickly covered it up. Taking her hand out of Si Chen's hand, Luo Zhiro said expressionlessly, It's okay, it's just that the battle just ended, and my blood is a little surging. Si Chen breathed a long sigh of relief. It's okay, it scared me. The people around looked at Si Chen and Luo Zhiro, with anti-smiles on their lips. Up to this moment, everyone present can be said to be their own people. They all have a deep understanding of Si Chen's nature of doting on his wife and being a maniac, as well as the arrogant nature of their leader. Cult leader. At this time, Yu Hai said very sensibly, Chu Baiquan and others are dead, and their disciples still need to be won over. Let the few of us do this. Luo Zhiro nodded. Elders, I leave this matter to you. As you command. After saying goodbye to Luo Zhiro and Si Chen, several elders quickly flew away into the distance. Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu looked at each other and returned directly to Rakshasa Peak. At this point, only Si Chen and Luo Zhiro were left on Yinghui Peak. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen standing in front of her, with a smile on her pretty face. She poked Si Chen's chest. You bad guy, you took the initiative to touch me in front of so many people. You are shameless. Si Chen held Luo Zhiro's hand and said domineeringly, Then what's wrong? My own wife, what's wrong with me holding hands? Looking at Si Chen's domineering look, Luo Zhiro snorted, Ha, bad guy. Even so, Luo Zhiro did not take her hand out of Si Chen's big hand, but let him hold it. Madam, shall we go back? Wait. Suddenly, Luo Zhiro grabbed Si Chen. Under Si Chen's puzzled gaze, a majestic torrent of spiritual power slowly surged from Luo Zhiro's hands. Under Luo Zhiro's power of the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm, the entire Yin Ghost Peak began to disintegrate quickly, and then reorganized. The bodies of Chu Baiquan and others were also buried deeply in the mountain of Yinghui Peak. After doing all this, Luo Zhiro slowly took back her hand and said to Si Chen, "Let's go back." Si Chen took Luo Zhirou's hand, and the two turned into streams of light and flew towards Rakshasa Peak. "Madam, your hand is too strong. As long as you know how powerful this leader is, next time you dare to bully me, I will deal with you severely." When we returned to Luosha Peak, it was getting dark. Si Chen lay on the white jade bed and looked at Luo Zhiro, who was standing in the room with a confused look on his face. Ever since she came back to the room, Luo Zhiro seemed to have been struggling with something and refused to tell her no matter how Si Chen asked her. "Madam, what are you thinking about? Don't ask, don't ask. This leader is not ready yet." This conversation has been repeated many times, but Luo Zhiro still hasn't said anything. However, based on Si Chen's understanding of Luo Zhiro, she is probably brewing some small thoughts now. Seeing that Luo Zhiro refused to tell no matter how much he asked, Si Chen had no choice but to lie on the bed and fiddle with the divine weapon of creation that Chu Baiquan had just given him. At this time, Luo Zhiro suddenly appeared in the room. He stamped his feet heavily. Then, she quickly ran into the innermost side of the room. "Bad guy, you are not allowed to peek. Otherwise, I will bite you to death." Si Chen watched Luo Zhiro running into the back of the room with a confused look on his face, somewhat confused as to what Luo Zhiro was going to do. The innermost side of the room was always where Luo Zhiro changed clothes. Maybe the clothes were stained by today's battle. Si Chen muttered and continued to study the silver needle with red light in his hand. I don't know how long it took, but just when Si Chen was about to fall asleep, Luo Zhirou's slightly trembling voice suddenly came to his ears. Bad guy, look at me." Following Luo Zhirou's voice, Si Chen's eyes turned to Luo Zhiro in the room. In an instant, Si Chen's eyes widened and he was completely stunned. Si Chen rubbed his eyes vigorously, wondering if he hadn't woken up yet. Opposite him, Luo Zhiro took off the white robe she wore during the day. Instead, there are snow gold mandarin duck belly bands and Lulan Shengshe stockings. At this time, Luo Zhirou's long hair was naturally spread out, the red ribbon of the snow golden mandarin duck's belly band was tied around her neck, and her smooth back was completely exposed to the air. And those slender jade legs became even more eye-catching with the Lulan Shengshe stockings. Compared with the overbearing Tribulation Realm expert during the day, Luo Zhiro at this time was really charming to the extreme. Noticing Si Chen's dull gaze, Luo Zhirou's pretty face was already so red that water could drip from her eyes. She bit her lips lightly, pinched the hem of Shuijin Yuanyang's belly band tightly with both hands, and squeezed her legs together. Looking at Si Chen's dull look, Luo Zhiro asked softly, "Bad guy, isn't it good looking?" After hearing Luo Zhirou's words, the sluggish Si Chen finally came to his senses. He shook his head rapidly and spoke like a machine gun. "Good looking, my lady is really good looking." Si Chen's dull look made Luo Zhiro, who was originally nervous, burst into laughter. She gave Si Chen a playful look, lightly stamped her feet, and at the same time raised her arms towards Si Chen. "Why don't you give the head of the family a hug?" Whoosh! As soon as Luo Zhiro finished speaking, Si Chen turned into a stream of light and came to her, and then directly picked her up like a princess. Being held in Si Chen's arms, Luo Zhirou's arms were around Si Chen's neck. She put her chin on Si Chen's shoulder and murmured timidly, "Ms. Sir, tonight's tenderness is your gift. It's night, the moon and stars are sparse." The milky white moonlight splashed on the ground, and the charming atmosphere quietly enveloped the entire cabin. The gentle breeze with blazing love caressed the slightly gathered petals, and little crystal water drops slowly seeped out from the petals. In the small house that was completely enveloped by the surging power of the soul, Luo Zhiro was like an octopus, hugging Si Chen's back tightly. Si Chen looked at the lovely and confused look of the lady in his arms, and the tenderness in his eyes almost turned into reality. "Madam. Can you? The power of the soul that enveloped the hut lasted for 2 days and 2 nights before slowly dissipating." In the room at this time, Luo Zhiro was lying on the innermost side of the white jade bed, looking at Si Chen who was rushing toward her. Her little feet wearing Lulan Shengshe stockings were propped up on Si Chen's chest to prevent him from getting any closer. Luo Zhiro pulled the hem of her bellyband down, with a look of shame and anger on her face. Bad guy, don't mess around anymore. Si Chen held Luo Zhirou's little foot in his hand with a sad look on his face. Madam, you can't just kill the donkey and kill the donkey. You have clearly promised to call me husband-in-law from now on. Luo Zhiro pouted and turned her head to the side. I never said this, don't even think about it. Seeing Luo Zhirou's stubborn look, Si Chen suddenly chuckled. Afterwards, Si Chen sat cross-legged next to Luo Zhiro and said with a wicked smile. Well, Masang Gong, please spare Zhiro, Zhiro will listen to you in everything. Ah, don't say it, don't say it. Before Si Chen finished speaking, Luo Zhirou's pretty face instantly turned red with embarrassment, and she raised her little hand to cover Si Chen's mouth. Si Chen grabbed Luo Zhirou's hand and fell backwards. Luo Zhirou's whole body was pressed against Si Chen. For a moment, the two looked at each other again. Si Chen smiled slightly at Luo Zhirou. Madam, do you think who said these words just now? Luo Zhirou sat on Si Chen's body, holding her legs tightly together and covering Si Chen's mouth with her little hand. Bah, 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 you are so shameless. Don't mention it again, forget it immediately. At this time, Luo Zhirou's pretty face was flushed, and even her neck turned pink. Si Chen held her hand in his hand, looked at her big watery eyes and said, then call me husband, maybe I will forget everything. Luo Zhirou looked at Si Chen blankly and asked, really? Si Chen smiled and nodded, of course. It's the puppy who doesn't keep his words. As Si Chen said this, he held Luo Zhirou's waist with his hands. However, after Si Chen waited for a long time, he didn't see Luo Zhirou making any move. He pinched Luo Zhirou's chin and asked her to look towards him, but he found that Luo Zhirou had her eyes closed, as if she had fallen asleep. Lady, Si Chen pinched Luo Zhirou's little nose, are you asleep? Fell asleep. Luo Zhirou took Si Chen's hand away and turned her head to prevent Si Chen from seeing her face. Si Chen was a little confused and asked softly, do you want me to forget what happened just now? You just need to call me your husband. Luo Zhirou still didn't look at Si Chen. No. Si Chen pulled the quilt aside to cover him and Luo Zhirou, and asked at the same time, why not? As soon as he finished speaking, Si Chen suddenly found that his chest was itchy. Looking down, he happened to see Luo Zhirou drawing circles on his chest with her fingers. Seeing Si Chen looking towards her, Luo Zhirou pursed her lips and whispered. Because, I don't want you to forget, ever. After Luo Zhirou said that, she gently picked up Si Chen's arm and asked Si Chen to hug her, and she closed her eyes. It's all your fault, you bad guy, I'm so exhausted. I'm going to sleep. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou who had closed her eyes in her arms, her eyes full of tenderness. After a long time, Si Chen hugged the beauty in his arms tightly, his tone extremely firm. How could I forget this most important moment? I will never. After Si Chen said this, he suddenly found that Luo Zhirou in his arms arched his body like a pig. Humph, you are a bad guy. Maybe it's because I have consumed so much energy in the past 2 days. Or maybe it's because when you're with the person you like, you always feel sleepier than usual. It wasn't until dawn the next day that Si Chen woke up leisurely. Opening his eyes, Si Chen suddenly found that Luo Zhirou in his arms looked like a frightened little animal. He quickly took back the hand that was stroking his face, closed his eyes and continued to pretend to sleep. Slowly leaning down, Si Chen whispered in Luo Zhirou's ear, when did the lady wake up? Quote. Luo Zhirou said nothing, but with Si Chen talking in his ear like this, and the clothes the two of them were wearing at this time were extremely cool, the touch between their skins was so clear. Luo Zhirou's ears turned pink at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing that Luo Zhirou was still silent, Si Chen raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and gently rubbed Luo Zhirou's back with a pair of big hands. Being treated like this by Si Chen, Luo Zhirou's body was trembling slightly, and her little hands couldn't help but hug Si Chen's arm tightly. Si Chen smiled and murmured to himself, isn't the lady awake yet? Then I have to get the moon first by staying close to the water. It's just the right time to continue what I did yesterday. Wake up, my leader is already awake. Just as Si Chen finished speaking, Luo Zhirou quickly held down his big hand. Opening her eyes, Luo Zhiro happened to see the evil smile on Si Chen's face. So the lady has woken up. Then why did the lady pretend not to wake up just now? Snort. Luo Zhiro poked Si Chen's face dissatisfied. Which is more serious, waking up or being bullied by a bad guy like you? I can still tell the difference. Si Chen hugged Luo Zhiro tightly and asked with a smile. Then, which one is more serious? Of course. Luo Zhiro's tone was choked, and then she whispered in a low voice. Of course it's more serious being bullied by a bad guy like you. I won't let you succeed easily in the future. No, madam, Si Chen wailed. Obviously you are my wife, and I am your husband-in-law. If you get it easily, you won't cherish it. Luo Zhiro said seriously. The leader of this sect always indulges you, then you will surely gradually feel that the leader of this sect is not important. Maybe I'll find another woman. How can it be? Si Chen said with great determination. I only have my wife in my heart. It was like this before and it will be like this in the future. There will definitely be no other women. Ha, that's nice to say. This leader is not a little girl who will become happy just by saying a few nice words. Luo Zhiro said to Si Chen righteously. But the next second she finished saying this, a sweet smile couldn't help but flash across her lips. She muttered in a low voice, bad guy, he will say something to make this leader happy. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro's cute appearance, held her waist tightly, lowered his head and kissed her lips. After a long time, Luo Zhiro pushed Si Chen away with a heavy breath. She looked into Si Chen's eyes and whispered the question she had been worried about. Bad guy, do you like the gift I gave you this time? Gift. Si Chen was stunned for a moment, but then he understood what Luo Zhiro meant. At the same time, what Luo Zhiro said to him that night also appeared in his mind. Ms. Sir, tonight's tenderness is your gift. I hope everyone can receive such a gift. 0. Oh. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro with a very serious expression. I like it. This is definitely the best gift I have ever received. Thank you, madam. What did you say? Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro's eyes were full of surprise and relief. She struggled for so long, prepared for so long, and finally her efforts were liked by Si Chen. Nothing makes people happier than this. Luo Zhiro gently tapped Si Chen's forehead. How can I say thank you to my leader? You are not allowed to say it in the future, have you heard me, or I will be angry. At this time, Luo Zhiro suddenly remembered what Si Chen had said to her, and she said softly. We are husband and wife, and this is how it should be between husband and wife. Listening to Luo Zhiro's words, Si Chen's eyes fluctuated violently. He hugged the beauty in his arms tightly, buried his face in her neck, and smiled. Madam, should husband and wife still? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen with an annoyed look on her face, opened her small mouth and bit him hard on the neck. This leader is simply talking to a cow. Why do you, a bad guy, always think about lewd things? Seeing that the warm atmosphere she had finally created was ruined by Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro angrily pinched Si Chen's face and kept twisting it. Si Chen shouted with an exaggerated expression. Madam, I mean that husband and wife should still be mutually supportive. What are you thinking? Humph, only a ghost will believe you. Luo Zhiro turned her back to Si Chen, and her smooth and perfect back was also exposed in front of Si Chen. At this time, Si Chen hugged Luo Zhiro's waist from behind and whispered in her ear. Then, is it possible? Luo Zhiro shrank her neck and clenched her hands tightly. But, there is still a sect meeting today. No, no, no. I almost went soft on this bad guy like you again. Luo Zhiro, who suddenly reacted, slapped Si Chen's hand away and said decisively, don't even think about it. If the leader says it can't be done, then it can't be done. Okay, Si Chen responded and then stopped talking. When Luo Zhiro noticed that Si Chen seemed a little depressed, she turned around in a panic. Bad guy, are you unhappy? No, Si Chen naturally knew that there would be a sect meeting today, so he was just talking about it and didn't really mean it. However, Si Chen's short answer had a completely different meaning in Luo Zhiro's ears. It's like when you reply to a girl's message, you can answer with, but you have to answer, Otherwise, you are indifferent, unfamiliar, and unloving. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen aggrievedly, her big eyes watery. Bad guy, Don't be unhappy, there really is a sect meeting today. Since Luo Zhiro woke up, she has been extremely dependent on Si Chen. Now after just spending these 2 nights with Si Chen, Luo Zhiro almost placed her whole heart on Si Chen. When Si Chen saw Luo Zhirou's appearance, he felt that his heart was about to melt. He gently stroked Luo Zhirou's face with his hand and said with a smile, "Madam, I am really not unhappy. Of course I also know that there is a sect meeting today. My wife will think about me, and of course I will also think about my wife." After hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro breathed a long sigh of relief. She asked softly, "Are you really not unhappy?" Si Chen nodded heavily. "No. Then you kiss this leader." "My lord, is it time to get up? If your followers knew that their leader stayed in bed every day, then I guess your glorious image as the leader would collapse." "Humph, it's not your fault." At this time, Si Chen had already put on a white gown, and his long hair was tied up with a golden hairband. His perfect temperament and extremely handsome face made him look like an immortal descended into the world. Si Chen stood at the head of the bed, looking lovingly at Luo Zhiro, who was still huddled under the quilt, with only one head exposed. "What clothes are you wearing today, master? Do you want my husband to help you get them?" "No need, I have the leader here. Just turn around. We are already an old married couple, are you still so shy? Who told you to tear off my leader's socks strip by stripe? Turn around quickly." Si Chen touched the bridge of his nose helplessly, turned around with a smile and stopped looking at Luo Zhiro. After the sound of rustling, dressing, Luo Zhirou's voice came from behind Si Chen. "It is okay." Si Chen turned around, and when he saw his wife, he was suddenly startled. Si Chen had to admit that this was really the first time he had seen Luo Zhiro. She wears a pure white robe without a trace of color, her long hair is tied up with red gold phoenix feathers, and her flawless face is covered with a white veil. Noticing Si Chen's gaze, Luo Zhiro asked in a low voice, "Bad guy, what are you looking at?" Si Chen smiled slightly at her. "This should be what the lady looked like before, right? This image is in line with my imagination of the devil sect." After hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro came to Si Chen and held his big hand tightly with her small hands. Because her face was blocked by a veil, Luo Zhirou's eyes looked even brighter at this moment, and her long eyelashes trembled. "Then will you dislike me because of my identity or some of my actions?" Si Chen shook his head slightly and said firmly, "Of course not. It's not too late for me to be happy." Si Chen will never forget that it was precisely because of Luo Zhirou's identity that he was able to get to where he is today step by step. So how could he dislike Luo Zhiro because of her identity? When Luo Zhiro heard Si Chen's answer, the light in her eyes fluctuated a few times. She took Si Chen's hand and turned it into a stream of light and flew out of Rakshasa Peak. At this time, Luo Zhirou's voice came to Si Chen's ears, "Bad guy, this leader has a surprise for you soon." "Oh," Si Chen, who was flying side by side with Luo Zhiro in the air, paused slightly. He looked at Luo Zhiro beside him. "What's the surprise?" "Just stop asking so many questions, you'll find out later." As the largest demonic sect in the entire Kanglan world, the White Feather Sect is divided into an inner sect and an outer sect. In addition to the core leader and the 7 elders, there are also many inner sect worshippers and outer sect elders. The 8 main peaks of the White Feather Sect surround a huge square in the middle. This is the place where the sect conference is held. At this time, a large number of disciples, worshippers, and outer elders had gathered in the square. Everyone was looking at the high platform in the center of the square with awe. At this time, there were already 3 figures standing proudly on the high platform with indifferent expressions. They are the 3rd elder Yu Hai, the 4th elder Guan Xian, and the 7th elder Sha Wan. Perhaps for Si Chen and Luo Zhiro, the 3 of them are close friends. But to other people in the White Feather Sect, the 7 elders are the highest beings besides the leader. In the minds of the members of the White Feather Sect, each of the 7 elders has supreme strength and the ability to control countless lives and deaths. As time goes by, the square has been occupied by dense crowds. Everyone has arrived, and everyone is looking expectantly at the center of the high platform. Buzz. Suddenly, space fluctuations that resonated with the world suddenly appeared. The majestic and extreme pressure instantly filled the entire square. Under this coercion, everyone present felt a huge pressure like Mount High. But even so, their eyes were still blazing and full of reverence. In the demonic religion, the concept of respecting the strong is more important than the right path. For Luo Zhiro, a strong person in the tribulation realm who leads the White Feather Sect to its peak, all the disciples of the White Feather Sect regard her as a figure like the goddess of the 9 heavens. The next moment, 2 figures dressed in white slowly emerged in the midst of everyone's gaze. And when these 2 figures appeared, everyone present except the 3 elders were stunned. Luo Zhirou's appearance was naturally expected by everyone in the White Feather Sect. But, who is this man in white next to his leader? Everyone suddenly recalled the previously rumored marriage of the leader. Could this man be the husband of the leader? Why does he look so young? No one present would have any doubts about their leader. However, Si Chen standing next to her looked very young, as if he had just entered the cultivation path not long ago. For a moment, everyone present focused their attention on Si Chen. Facing these hundreds of glances, Si Chen's expression did not change at all. He slowly stepped out and came to where the 3 elders were. After greeting Yu Hai and the others, the high platform became quiet again. At this time, Luo Zhirou's plain voice slowly sounded throughout the square. Chu Baiquan, the great elder of the divine sect, Dang Huo, the 2nd elder, and Hu Han, the 6th elder, colluded with foreign enemies and intended to murder their fellow disciples. They have all been killed. The same goes for their disciples who participated in it. From today's issue, all inner sect offerings will enter the review period, and 2 elders will be selected from them. Although Luo Zhirou's voice was gentle, it was like the sound of heavy thunder echoing in everyone's mind. Everyone present did not expect that such a thing would happen in the divine religion. Forget about the rebellion, 3 of the 7 elders started the rebellion together. At the same time, all the worshippers in the inner sect became excited. Isn't it just for this day that they have become worshippers of the inner sect and have devoted so much time to the religion? Becoming the 7th elder means that you will have your own main peak, countless cultivation resources, and higher authority to enter the Kung Fu Pavilion. These benefits are worthy of everyone present going crazy for. But people can't help but have doubts in their minds. Why did 3 elders die but only 2 were recruited? But Luo Zhirou's next words answered this question for everyone. In addition, in view of Si Chen's outstanding contribution in this battle, from today on, Si Chen will assume the position of the great elder of the divine religion. Everyone present could not help but be stunned when they heard Luo Zhirou's words. Even Si Chen himself is. But then, a touch of warmth flashed in Si Chen's eyes. He may have guessed why Luo Zhirou did this. Luo Zhirou's voice fell, and the eyes of the audience once again focused on Si Chen. Everyone present has the same understanding, that is, the great elder of the divine religion is the strongest person besides the leader. But, now the leader has appointed a man who looks so young to be the great elder of the sect. Is it just because he is the husband-in-law of the leader? Under everyone's gaze, Si Chen's aura remained calm and calm. Luo Zhirou's voice also sounded again. Chu Baiquan died at the hands of Si Chen, so it is most appropriate for Si Chen to take Chu Baiquan's position. Of course, those who have objections can also come on stage to challenge Si Chen. Ignore Luo Zhirou's last sentence automatically. After all, only those who dislike their own longevity will disobey Luo Zhirou's ideas. Go up to the stage and challenge Si Chen. So what if you win? You are slapping the leader in the face. It will kill someone. People's attention was attracted by Luo Zhirou's previous sentence. Died at the hands of Si Chen. Is this really fake? They didn't want to believe that Si Chen, who looked so young, could be stronger than the long-famous great elder Chu Baiquan. I remember that Chu Baiquan is a strong man at the 9th level of the Cave Ruins realm, right? It's impossible for the leader to lie. Could it be that all of this is true? I can't see clearly his cultivation level, but his bone age seems to be no more than 30. How high can his cultivation level be? Whether you want to believe it or not, Si Chen's figure that looks like an immortal is still imprinted in the hearts of everyone present. His becoming the great elder of the divine religion is already a certainty. In the following time, Luo Zhirou successively announced the development direction of some divine religions and the way to get along with the righteous way. After all, she had been a hands-off shopkeeper for several months, and now she just took this opportunity to deal with the things that had accumulated before. Finally, when the sky gradually darkened, the sect meeting finally came to an end. As the figures of Luo Zhiro, Si Chen and other elders disappeared from the high platform, the disciples and worshippers below also began to leave one after another. Other things may be put aside for now, but starting from today, the name of Si Chen, the great elder of the White Feather Sect, must be known to everyone in the sect. On Rakshasa Peak, in the room, Si Chen sat beside the bed, took Luo Zhiru's hand and asked her to sit in his arms. Raising his hand to take off Luo Zhiru's veil, Si Chen asked with a smile, "Madam, is this the surprise you want to give me? Do you want me to take over Chu Baiquan's position?" The veil was removed, and Luo Zhiru's delicate and flawless face appeared in front of Si Chen again. She winked at Si Chen. "Don't you like it?" "I like it." Si Chen nodded without hesitation. "As long as it is given by my wife, I like it." Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro couldn't help but have a sweet smile appear on her pretty face. Si Chen asked again, "Why does your wife want me to be the chief elder?" After thinking for a while, Luo Zhiro said, "After becoming the great elder, you, a bad guy, can run rampant in the White Feather Sect. You can also receive a lot of training resources every month, and you can also browse the exercises in the Kung Fu Pavilion at will." Quote, "Haven't you always been interested in the creation level dual cultivation technique in the Kung Fu Pavilion? Now it's ready. You can take a look at it at any time. But let's make it clear first, this leader will not practice with you." In fact, Luo Zhiro didn't say anything yet. That's why she wanted to give Si Chen an identity that could shock everyone. When a traitor wants to take action against Si Chen, he must be wary of the forces behind Si Chen. At the same time, Luo Zhiro didn't want Si Chen to be said to be someone who only knows how to rely on women. These are the little things in Luo Zhiru's heart, so naturally they cannot tell Si Chen. As Si Chen's wife, Luo Zhiro always thinks of Si Chen and takes care of his feelings in various places. As Luo Zhiru's husband, Si Chen actually understood Luo Zhiru's little thoughts. So Si Chen did not continue to delve into this issue, but hugged Luo Zhiro tightly in his arms. The two hugged each other in this warm atmosphere for a long time, and it seemed that no one was willing to break this wonderful atmosphere first. At this time, Si Chen leaned down and asked in Luo Zhiru's ear, "Madam, after I become the great elder, will Yingui Peak be mine?" Well, Luo Zhiro nodded. It can be said that every elder will have a main peak. Of course, you can choose the name yourself. Then do I need to live in Yingui Peak? Aha! Luo Zhiro suddenly thought of this at this time. If Si Chen really became the great elder, wouldn't he say that he would leave Rakshasa Peak and live in Yingui Peak? No, 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 no. Luo Zhiru's little head almost shook with afterimages. Si Chen tilted his head and asked, "Do I still need to open a sect and recruit disciples? For example, recruit some female disciples with furnace physiques. Bad guy, I'll fight you." "Madam, I was wrong. I won't leave. Madam, please spare my life." After a while, Si Chen sat on the edge of the bed, holding Luo Zhiru's little feet in his hands with a look of helplessness, massaging and coaxing Luo Zhiro, who was bulging with anger. Luo Zhiro was lying on the bed, looking at Si Chen with wide eyes and a small mouth that she had never heard from before. "Okay, you are still thinking about Xie Yao, aren't you? You have just achieved something, and you are ready to have 3 wives and 4 concubines, aren't you? What Master said at the beginning was indeed right, men become bad when they are rich. Bah, 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 scumbag, bad guy." Quote. At this moment, Si Chen finally saw how imaginative a girl in love can be. How could he dare to refute? He could only play with Luo Zhiru's little feet. Looking at Si Chen's aggrieved look, Luo Zhiro couldn't help but laugh out loud. In order to relieve her embarrassment, Luo Zhiro said solemnly, "Ahem, this leader needs to convene an urgent meeting of elders now." Si Chen blinked at Luo Zhiro. "Master Leader, do you have anything to give me? Do you need me to call other elders?" "Well, no need," Si Chen said very cooperatively. "Then please tell me, Leader." Luo Zhiro said seriously in an official tone. After considering many aspects, combining various realities, and examining a series of people's livelihood, I have made a decision. Si Chen, the great elder of the divine sect, currently has very limited qualifications and is not yet qualified to serve on the main peak alone. So, he needs to stay with me temporarily to receive training from me. After Luo Zhiro finished speaking, her big eyes met Si Chen's smiling eyes. Luo Zhiro gently twisted Si Chen's arm and said with a serious face, "Great Elder, please be more serious." Si Chen kept a straight face and replied solemnly, "Si Chen obeys the order." After Si Chen finished speaking, the couple looked at each other, and both of them couldn't help laughing. PFF'd. Ha ha ha. Madam, is this a role play? Ha, role play. What is that? Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro, who looked cute, and whispered a few words in her ear. And just as Si Chen was explaining, Luo Zhirou's pretty face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah, what a mess. I don't want it. In the early morning of the next day, Si Chen woke up leisurely. In his arms, Luo Zhiro was still sleeping deeply. At this time, Si Chen's long-awaited system prompt sounded in his ears. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the highest level sign-in next to Luo Zhiro, the leader of the White Feather God Sect at the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm. Rewards obtained. Points 30,000, Attribute Gift Pack Luxury *2, Unknown Level of Heavenly Material and Earthly Treasure, World Tree Species. The previous few times, Si Chen, who had been busy with business, had not bothered to sign in. After all, no one can decide who will sign in. This made Si Chen wait until early this morning to complete the highest level sign-in that he had been dreaming of. And this reward is worthy of the name of the most advanced sign-in. Not to mention the unknown level of World Tree Seeds, the doubled points and attribute gift packs alone were a surprise enough. However, this kind of check-in can only be described as rare. After all, you can't just sign in every day. Si Chen feels yearning just thinking about it. Ah no, he feels conflicted. Unknown level, World Tree Species. Lying on the bed, Si Chen looked at the shining green seed in the system backpack, and his mind suddenly shook. At this time, Si Chen suddenly remembered the holy mid-grade Tongtian Jianmu spear that he had locked onto. Si Chen clearly remembered that in the introduction to the Tongtian Jianmu spear, it was mentioned that it was made from the branches of the World Tree. And a weapon made from a single branch can reach the mid-level holy level, so how powerful should the World Tree be? System, how does this thing work? Ding, the system provides 3 processing methods for the host. 1. Take the refining directly and greatly improve your own cultivation level in a short period of time. 2. Combine it with other heavenly materials and earthly treasures to refine the elixir and then take it. The effect will be better and your own cultivation will be improved even more. 3. Integrate into yourself and slowly cultivate the germination and growth of World Tree species. After the germination, the World Tree will increase itself. Looking at the 3 options given by the system, Si Chen's brows also moved. Eating the seeds of a World Tree with Emperor-level heritage directly seems like a waste of natural resources. Si Chen is not in a hurry to significantly improve his strength now, and the first 2 options are not necessary at all. Moreover, in Si Chen's opinion, with his current level of cultivation, eating the seeds of the World Tree alive would cause his body to explode and die. Without any further hesitation, Si Chen said immediately, "System, I choose the 3rd option. Integrating the World's Tree species requires a lot of spiritual power. Please host to find a paradise filled with spiritual energy." Is there a paradise in the cave? At this time, Si Chen suddenly remembered what the 3rd Elder Yu Hai had told him before about the 8 treasured body refining places on Diamond Peak. Thinking of this, Si Chen felt that it was necessary to go to King Kong Peak again. Withdrawing his thoughts from the system interface, Si Chen also looked at Luo Zhiro in his arms again. At this time, Si Chen's eyes happened to meet Luo Zhirou's big watery eyes. "Bad guy, what are you thinking about?" Si Chen scratched Luo Zhirou's nose and said softly, "I was thinking that I should become stronger quickly so that I can protect my wife." Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro pouted in dissatisfaction. "You can just hug my leader's thigh with peace of mind. Who wants your protection?" Si Chen said helplessly, "As my husband, I can't always stand behind my wife. What if one day the lady loses the ability to resist, and there happens to be a group of powerful villains who want to harm the lady?" Quote. Luo Zhiro was slightly paused by Si Chen's question. She bit her lower lip gently, her tone soft but firm. If such a day comes, you have to leave immediately. Luo Zhiro held Si Chen's neck, looked into his eyes and said, "Speak quickly, bad guy, just say you heard it, and you will leave directly then." Si Chen tightened his arms around Luo Zhirou's waist and asked, "Then if my husband loses the ability to move, will my wife leave me alone?" Of course not. As soon as Luo Zhirou finished speaking, she was stunned. At this time, she also saw the gentle smile in Si Chen's eyes. "Then the lady still wants me to leave you and run away?" No matter what, Luo Zhirou reacted quickly. She supported Si Chen's chest, sat up and looked down at him. "This leader is so much stronger than you. Even if someone wants to harm you, I can kill them directly. But you bad guy hasn't caught up with me yet, so you have to run away when the time comes. Do you hear me?" Looking at Luo Zhirou's serious look, Si Chen smiled softly. "Then what if something unexpected happens, madam?" That, a lonely look flashed in Luo Zhirou's eyes. She whispered, Then forget about this leader." Ah! As soon as Luo Zhirou finished speaking, she suddenly let out a tender cry. Luo Zhirou found that Si Chen, who was pressed under her, suddenly sat up and tightly held her waist with his arms, holding her whole body on his lap. Ba bang bang. Immediately afterwards, 3 crisp slaps sounded, and a burning pain came from Luo Zhirou's butt. When she was with Si Chen, Luo Zhirou would always remove the protective aura. So Si Chen's 3 slaps were real, and the pain was intense. Lying on Si Chen's lap, Luo Zhirou arched her body like a pig and kicked her legs a few times. "Bad guy, how dare you hit the head of the family?" Si Chen's expression did not change at all, he was still extremely serious. He said in a deep voice, "If you say something wrong, you will be punished. Let me put it another way, if you say something bad, I will punish you." Me. Luo Zhirou's tone was slightly choked, and she also felt Si Chen's somewhat angry tone. At this time, Luo Zhirou couldn't care less about the pain in her body. She lay on Si Chen's lap and said aggrievedly, "My leader was wrong." Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou's aggrieved look, with a flash of warmth in his eyes. But he still asked in a deep voice, "Do you still want me to forget you?" "No, no, no." Luo Zhirou pouted her little mouth and said in a very aggrieved voice, "Originally, I didn't want you to forget, but what I said just now was just against your will. Don't say it anymore, do you hear me? Otherwise, your husband will punish you." "I heard that," Luo Zhirou said coquettishly. After receiving Luo Zhirou's answer, Si Chen nodded with satisfaction. Holding her in his arms again, Si Chen's hands gently rubbed the lower part of her back. And Luo Zhirou was huddled in Si Chen's arms, with an oil bottle already hanging on her mouth. Her slender fingers poked Si Chen's chest. "Huh, what a bad guy. He doesn't give any face to the head of the family." Chapter 91. Bad guy, tell me quickly, who among us has the final say? Of course the lady has the final say. Huh, that's pretty much it. Si Chen looked at the angry lady helplessly, and the smile in his eyes almost overflowed. Now, the biggest cancer within the White Feather Sect has been eradicated, and the lives of Si Chen and Luo Zhirou have become more stable. Si Chen hugged Luo Zhirou and tapped her forehead. "Madam, I may need to go to King Kong Peak today." Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhirou looked at him curiously. "Do you want to practice your body training technique?" Si Chen shook his head gently. "I have obtained a seed of heavenly materials and earthly treasures. If I want to cultivate it and germinate, I need a lot of spiritual power as the basis. So we need to find a paradise to provide spiritual power. It just so happens that there are 8 great body refining treasures available on King Kong Peak, so I'm going to go there." Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhirou nodded slightly. She was already very familiar with Si Chen's method of always being able to bring out some treasures out of thin air. However, Luo Zhirou would not interfere too much with Si Chen, let alone inquire about these matters. If Si Chen wanted to talk to her, Luo Zhirou would listen patiently. But if Si Chen didn't want to say anything, Luo Zhirou wouldn't keep asking. As Si Chen's wife, Luo Zhirou always thinks about Si Chen subconsciously. Luo Zhirou took Si Chen's hand and said softly, "Bad guy, if you just need spiritual energy, you don't need to go to Diamond Peak at all, just Rakshasa Peak." Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou and asked curiously, "Madam, is there a similar paradise on Rakshasa Peak?" Si Chen, who had been taking care of the comatose Luo Zhiro, had not taken a good stroll on Rakshasa Peak, nor did he know much about the many buildings on it. Luo Zhiro nodded. Rakshasa Peak can become the core area of the divine religion, of course, not just because it is the place where the leader lives. It's also because there is an extremely high concentration of spirit stone veins under the mountain of Rakshasa Peak. My master once built a spiritual pond above the spirit stone veins just for my leader to practice. A flash of light flashed in Si Chen's eyes, and he looked at Luo Zhiro with surprise. "Madam, can I go?" Luo Zhiro rolled her eyes at Si Chen, raised her head and said, "It stands to reason that only I, the leader, can enter there, but right. Because you, a bad guy, are so kind to me, I will take you there." After hearing Luo Zhiro's words, Si Chen pulled her over and kissed her heavily on the face. "It's good now. I can practice and have my wife by my side." Luo Zhiro patted Si Chen's arm lightly and rolled her eyes at him angrily. "Look at your dead look. ... After getting dressed, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro flew towards a certain direction of Rakshasa Peak. As the most majestic one among the 8 main peaks, Rakshasa Peak occupies a very large area and the mountain is also extremely huge. Soon, a stone door engraved with mysterious runes appeared in front of Luo Zhiro and Si Chen. According to Luo Zhiro, this is the passage leading into the mountain behind the gate. It is a place that only the leader of the White Feather Sect is qualified to enter. The white light in Luo Zhiro's hand flickered, and her palm slowly pressed on the stone door. Boom! There were buzzing sounds, and the huge stone door slowly opened. The first time he entered the stone gate, Si Chen noticed a strong spiritual energy coming towards his face. After walking down the steps for an unknown amount of time, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro were already wrapped in rich milky white mist. At the same time, a 5-meter square pool appeared in front of the two people, and the surrounding fog came from this pool. At this time, Luo Zhiro, who was being held by Si Chen, turned around and said to Si Chen, "This spiritual pool was built directly on the spiritual stone veins, and the water in the pool is also the product of liquefied spiritual energy. Bad guy, you are the only person who has entered here besides me. Why don't you hurry up and practice?" Si Chen first looked at the steaming spiritual pool in front of him, then turned to look at Luo Zhiro beside him. For some reason, a strange idea suddenly came to Si Chen's mind. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen, who was in a daze and couldn't help but look at him in confusion. "Bad guy, what are you thinking about?" Si Chen leaned close to Luo Zhiro's ear and asked in a low voice, "Have you brought any clothes for bathing, madam?" "Why?" Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen with a puzzled look on her face. "Do you still need to wear bathing clothes when practicing?" Before Luo Zhiro finished speaking, she suddenly found herself being hugged by Si Chen. Immediately afterwards, Si Chen flew up, hugged Luo Zhiro and flew into the spirit pool. After entering the spirit pool, the clothes on Si Chen and Luo Zhiro were completely wet with the spirit fluid. Luo Zhiro was originally only wearing a white gauze skirt, but now it was soaked with spiritual liquid. This made Luo Zhiro's long skirt stick tightly to her body, and her perfect figure was fully exposed. With her arms around Si Chen's neck, Luo Zhiro finally knew what Si Chen was going to do. Her pretty face turned red with embarrassment, her eyes were watery, and she pinched Si Chen's arm. "Why are you so bad?" Si Chen stood in the pool, lowered his head and looked at Luo Zhiro in his arms with a smile. "Madam, we haven't taken a hot spring bath together yet, so we can try it today." Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro first paused, and then kicked his legs a few times symbolically. "Then let me down first." Her clothes were completely wet, and she and Si Chen were so tightly stuck together, Luo Zhiro felt that her body was all hot. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro's appearance and slowly let go of the arm holding her. There is a stone bench built at the bottom of the pool. After releasing Luo Zhiro, Si Chen took off his shirt and sat in the pool, leaning his back on the edge of the pool. Luo Zhiro stood in the pool, looking at Si Chen, who was sitting in the pool with his eyes closed and concentrating, and subconsciously pursed his lips. It had to be said that Si Chen, who was sitting on the edge of the pool with his shirtless body and long hair disheveled, really had a fatal attraction for her. Si Chen opened his eyes, only to find Luo Zhiro still standing in the pool looking at him dreamily. Si Chen blinked at Luo Zhiro. Madam. Ah. Luo Zhiro, who suddenly woke up, quickly responded, what's wrong? Si Chen patted the seat next to him. Sit here. Luo Zhiro moved her steps and came to Si Chen's side step by step, but she did not sit in the pool, but sat on the wall of the pool. Si Chen took advantage of the situation and rested his head on Luo Zhirou's jade legs, his body completely stretched in the spiritual fluid. Ah! Hearing Si Chen's ecstatic voice, Luo Zhiro blushed and hit Si Chen on the shoulder. Bad guy, what are you yelling for? Si Chen smiled softly at Luo Zhiro. Every day with my wife by my side is like a day like a fairy. Of course, it would be even more perfect if I could give your husband a massage. Luo Zhirou's beautiful eyes glared. Bad guy, don't push yourself too far. You actually ask the head of the family to give you a massage. Lady, then this time. I won't spoil you next time. Luo Zhiro sat on the edge of the spiritual pool, while Si Chen rested his head on her slender jade legs. At the same time, Luo Zhirou's little hands were also gently kneading Si Chen's strong arms, just like when Si Chen massaged her. Looking at the expression on Si Chen's face, Luo Zhirou's eyes were full of happiness. At this time, Luo Zhiro suddenly found that her hand was held by Si Chen's big hand. Si Chen opened his eyes, pinched his fingers gently in the air, and as the icy blue light flashed, an exquisite ring appeared in his hand. It is one of the discounted products in the system mall today. The Lingxia Danyan ring is priced at 30,000 points with a 40% discount. According to the system, this is a space ring containing thousands of cubic meters inside, and its appearance is also extremely gorgeous. An icy blue ring paired with a dazzling gemstone is definitely a female monk's dream ring. Si Chen turned around, gently took Luo Zhirou's left hand, and put the Lingxia Danyan ring on Luo Zhirou's left ring finger. During this whole process, Luo Zhiro was looking at Si Chen with gleaming eyes. Bad guy, what is this? Si Chen smiled warmly at Luo Zhiro. Madam, in my hometown, when a man and a woman get married, they will use a wedding ring as a token of love. My husband never had time to make a ring before, now I will help my wife make up for it. Listening to Si Chen's gentle words and looking at the gorgeous ring on the ring finger of his left hand, Luo Zhirou's heart suddenly shook. She raised her head and looked at Si Chen, her eyes filled with emotion. Si Chen turned around and rested his head on Luo Zhirou's legs again. At the same time, he said, okay, I'm going to start practicing. Madam, help me protect the law. After Si Chen said that, he slowly closed his eyes. Luo Zhiro looked at the ring on her finger, her eyes full of happiness. At the same time, Luo Zhiro was also thinking about what he wanted to give Si Chen. Although she had given herself to him before, Luo Zhiro felt that it would be better to have something in kind. Suddenly, Luo Zhirou's eyes lit up, and a surprising idea appeared in her heart. The Righteous Alliance seems to have a creation-grade heavenly material and earthly treasure suitable for Taoist companions. Just when Luo Zhiro was thinking about when to visit the Righteous Alliance, her eyes suddenly stopped. Then, Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen in front of her with an incredible look. Luo Zhiro could clearly sense that the aura exuding from Si Chen's body at this time was definitely not something that could be found in the ordinary cave ruins realm. And when Luo Zhiro touched the aura emanating from Si Chen's body, she actually found that her cultivation that had been stuck at the 9th level of the Tribulation realm for many years had been loosened. You know, Luo Zhiro had tried countless methods before, but could not get even close to the realm of Hunyuan Saint. But at this moment, just by being exposed to some of the aura from Si Chen, her bottleneck was slightly loosened. Si Chen in the cave ruins realm has the power of law that can only appear in the Hunyuan Saint. Realizing this, Luo Zhiro restrained her shocked mind and carefully felt the power of law on Si Chen. Si Chen's sighed. At this time, he was sitting in the spiritual pool, focusing all his attention on his body. System, extract world tree species. Si Chen's thoughts fell, and the green seed that had been lying in his system backpack slowly appeared in his body. The world tree seeds followed Si Chen's body, from the upper dantian all the way down. After a moment, this seed, which seemed to contain thousands of worlds, landed in the middle of the lower dantian. It was at this moment that Si Chen felt that the spiritual power in his meridians began to surge toward his dantian. But that's not enough. The meridians all over Si Chen's body were fully activated, and the power belonging to the Liuku immortal thief began to crazily devour everything around him. Sitting next to Si Chen, Luo Zhiro could clearly detect that the spiritual liquid in the spiritual pool was rapidly pouring into Si Chen's body. It was during this process that the power of law emanating from Si Chen's body became more intense. Gradually, the suction coming from Si Chen's body became stronger and stronger, and the spiritual liquid in the entire spiritual pool began to boil. A vortex formed with Si Chen as the center, and crazily poured into Si Chen's body. Under the surging spiritual power supply, Si Chen could find that the world tree species in his dantian seemed to be more bulging than before. The mysterious power fed back from it also began to wash over his body and cleanse his meridians. Si Chen no longer leaned against Luo Zhiro, but sat up and sat cross-legged in the spiritual pool. The spiritual liquid in the spiritual pool is also rapidly decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, the ground of the spiritual pool was revealed, and the spiritual liquid in it had been completely absorbed by Si Chen. However, Si Chen's heart sank when he looked at the seeds in his dantian that had never sprouted. Not enough. Si Chen never imagined that the germination of world tree species would require so much spiritual power. The spiritual liquid in the entire spiritual pool was actually not enough to support its sprouting. If this were the treasured body refining land on King Kong Peak, even if all 8 of them were sucked dry, it wouldn't be enough. Just when Si Chen was about to give up temporarily and look for a place full of spiritual energy. But he suddenly found a jade hand gently covering his back. Immediately afterwards, majestic and extremely powerful spiritual power began to pour into Si Chen's body crazily. Not only that, Si Chen could clearly sense that the aura contained in this spiritual power was so familiar. It was the spiritual power he came into contact with when he helped Luo Zhiro clear his meridians. In the spirit pool, Luo Zhiro looked at the completely exposed bottom of the pool without any hesitation. Her ultimate cultivation of the 9th level of the tribulation realm once again exploded. Om kak kak. Luo Zhirou's palm slowly touched the bottom of the spirit pool, and the stone slabs at the bottom of the spirit pool shattered in an instant. Under the stone slab, there are extremely dense ice blue spiritual stones. It is the spirit stone vein under the spirit pond. Luo Zhiro covered the spirit stone veins with one hand, and gently stroked Si Chen's back with the other hand. She actually used herself as a relay and used the spiritual power of the entire spirit stone mine to help Si Chen break through. At this moment, the spiritual powers in Si Chen and Luo Zhirou's meridians were once again completely integrated. The difference from before is that this time Si Chen's meridians have the power of laws belonging to the world tree species. While the world tree species in Si Chen's dantian were devouring spiritual power crazily, Luo Zhirou's bottleneck was becoming looser. This state lasted for a long time, and at a certain moment, Si Chen's body suddenly shook violently. In his dantian, the green seed was finally burst, and a little green sprout slowly grew out of it. Si Chen's cultivation level has skyrocketed at this moment. Luo Zhiro also realized this, so she cut off her connection with Si Chen in time. Although the power of law in Si Chen's meridians can help her break through the bottleneck, she does not want to affect Si Chen because of herself. The 4th level of the Cave Ruins realm, the 5th level of the Cave Ruins realm, the 6th level of the Cave Ruins realm. Si Chen's cultivation directly broke through 3 minor realms in a very short period of time. This kind of speed is shocking anywhere. After reaching the 6th level of the Cave Ruins realm, Si Chen's breakthrough speed slowed down, but he still did not wake up. He still needs time to digest his own power. Luo Zhiro breathed a sigh of relief. She could feel that it might take some time for Si Chen to wake up. Taking advantage of this time, she had something to do. Bad guy, you can practice with peace of mind. I will go find someone to get something. I will be back soon. Leaning down and kissing Si Chen's forehead gently, Luo Zhirou's figure slowly disappeared from the spot. In the cave at this time, only Si Chen was still immersed in the understanding of the world tree. Vaguely, a shadow of a giant tree encompassing thousands of worlds was slowly taking shape behind Si Chen. In the sky above Rakshasa Peak, Luo Zhirou's figure slowly emerged. At this time, she once again returned to the clothes she wore when holding the sect meeting. A spotless white robe and a white veil. Master, where are you going? Mr. Mew, Mr. Lu, protect him. Luo Zhiro did not explain her whereabouts in detail to Mr. Mew and Mr. Lu. After leaving a word, she quickly flew towards the west of the White Feather Sect. As the largest demonic sect in the Kanglan realm, the White Feather Sect has a very large area and is covered by the White Feather Sect for thousands of miles. Outside the scope of the White Feather Sect, there are many affiliated forces scattered throughout the area. Under the leadership of Luo Zhiru's White Feather Sect, today's demon sect has once again begun to have a vague tendency to compete with the righteous forces. In order to keep the demonic sect under control, the righteous forces chose an alliance. The Righteous Alliance, headed by the three top righteous forces of Poji Sword Sect, Kangyan Sect, and Zigwang Temple, was thus born. As a result, the Righteous Alliance has three strong men in the Tribulation realm, who are much more powerful than the demon sect. However, the alliance has also created a delicate situation similar to that of a tripod. None of the three top forces wants anyone to be stronger than them, let alone their allies to monopolize the demon cult forces. The demon cult is coming, and they join forces to fight against the enemy. The demon cult is gone, and they are wary of each other. The Righteous Alliance is indeed stronger than the demonic cult, but it has three leaders and is not united enough. This is also the main reason why the Righteous Way and the Devil can always live in peace. Perhaps if the Hunyuan Saint had not appeared, this situation would have continued. Luo Zhiru's destination this time is the Tianjian Sect, the largest affiliated force of the Poji Sword Sect. It is said that the leader of the Tianjian Sect was the most beloved disciple of the leader of the Poji Sword Sect, and later left the sect to found the Tianjian Sect. But the relationship between Tianjian Sect and Poji Sword Sect is also very good. After all, they are from the same lineage. The Poji Sword Sect also often helps the Tianjian Sect in various places. The leader of the Poji Sword Sect once rewarded the leader of the Tianjian Sect with a creation-grade heavenly material and earthly treasure. Its name, Yin-Yang Geranium. With his cultivation fully expanded, Luo Zhiru's speed reached the extreme. The people in the demon cult below only felt a pressure as heavy as a mountain passing by, but it disappeared immediately. Only a figure turned into a stream of light and flew into the distance. Half a day later, a majestic mountain gate slowly appeared in front of Luo Zhiro. Without any hesitation, Luo Zhiro rushed straight towards the mountain gate. Luo Zhiro didn't want Si Chen to be unable to see her immediately after waking up, so she had to go back quickly. After entering the Tianjian Sect, Luo Zhiro did not hide her own cultivation level at all, and the power of her soul at the 9th level of the Tribulation realm was fully unleashed. And Luo Zhiru's completely unabashed aura of transcending the Tribulation realm also caused the entire Tianjian Sect to fall into huge turmoil. In an instant, dozens of figures rushed towards this side quickly. A few breaths later, a dozen people headed by a middle-aged man appeared in front of Luo Zhiro. The first time the leading man came to Luo Zhiro, he bowed deeply to Luo Zhiro. I don't know, this junior, that Master Luo's visit to the Tianjian Sect is really disappointing. The middle-aged man's attitude was extremely humble, and he recognized Luo Zhiru's identity at a glance. After all, there are only a few great masters in the Tribulation realm in the entire Kanglan realm. Among them, the only woman whose face is covered by a white veil is Luo Zhiro. Facing the middle-aged man's polite words, Luo Zhiru's tone did not waver at all. Jian Feiyu, give me the yin-yang geranium. The middle-aged man named Jian Feiyu's mouth twitched violently, and his face twisted into a bitter melon. He said that it was impossible for the leader of the demon cult to appear here for no reason. I've been fussing for a long time just to restock. Jian Feiyu said cautiously. Master Luo, my master took back the yin-yang geranium some time ago. Chang. Aha. As soon as Jian Feiyu finished speaking, a shrill scream sounded in his ears. Within 3 breaths, if the yin-yang geranium does not appear in front of this leader, the Tianjian Sect will be removed from the Kanglan realm from now on. The long sword in Luo Zhiru's hand was pointed directly at Jian Feiyu. Behind him, a man's arm had been cut off. Master Luo. Jian Feiyu's expression was extremely serious. He said to Luo Zhiro again, Yin-Yang Geranium is really not in the Tianjian Sect. After all, this is a creation-level treasure of heaven and earth. It is no exaggeration to say that it is the treasure of the Tianjian sect. Jian Feiyu, who has only heard of Luo Zhiro but has never been in contact with Luo Zhiro, still wants to fight for it again. But obviously, he underestimated the weight of Luo Zhirou's words. The next moment, the sword in Luo Zhirou's hand swept across once. All the elders behind Jian Feiyu were cut in half, and their glaring corpses quickly fell downwards. At the same time, Luo Zhirou's figure had also arrived in front of Jian Feiyu. Luo Zhiro didn't even say a word to Jian Feiyu. Her pressure like the scorching sun slammed into Jian Feiyu's body, and his body hit the ground below like a cannonball. The sword light flashed again, Jian Feiyu's right hand flew up with bloodlight, and at the same time, a sharp sword pierced Jian Feiyu's chest. Luo Zhiro suspended in the air and took the space ring on Jian Feiyu's right hand into her hand. After a moment, a flower composed of black and white appeared in Luo Zhirou's hand. After throwing away Jian Feiyu's space ring, Luo Zhirou's figure disappeared from the place. On the ground below her, Jian Feiyu's eyes were filled with endless regret. At this time, he finally remembered what his master had said to him. Luo Zhiro can unify all the demonic sects in Kanglan realm, and his methods are definitely beyond your imagination. If you meet her one day, you will give her whatever she wants. Call me as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the luck in Jian Feiyu's heart eventually harmed him. In Luo Zhirou's eyes, his cultivation at the 9th level of the Cave Ruins realm was really no different from that of a baby. And the moment Jian Feiyu died under Luo Zhirou's sword, in a secret room of the Poji Sword Sect. Boom! The turbulent breath exploded instantly, and an old man quickly opened his eyes. You are Luo Zhiro, give back my son's life. Thousands of miles apart, an old roar came accompanied by sword light all over the sky. Only 1,000 miles away from the territory of the White Feather Sect, Luo Zhiro frowned slightly and slashed down with the long sword in her hand, scattering the sword light in the sky. At this time, the owner of the voice also appeared in front of Luo Zhiro. It was an old man carrying several long swords. His beard and hair were all white, and his eyes were even blood red at this moment. Jian Wuming. Luo Zhiro was suspended in the void, her expression under the veil not changing at all. Luo Zhiro, why did you want to massacre all the senior officials of Tianjian sect? As the old man spoke, several long swords behind him were also trembling, and bursts of harsh sword sounds continued to sound. Luo Zhirou's expression remained unchanged. The people I want to kill, do I still need to give you a reason? Hee. Jian Wuming sneered, his blood-red eyes filled with murderous intent. You are used to being arrogant and domineering in the 1/3 of an acre of land owned by your demon sect. I think the Poji Sword Sect, will also let you control it. Today, I will let you recognize yourself. After Jian Wuming's words fell, the long swords behind him soared into the sky at the same time. Jian Wuming was suspended in the void, using his fingers as a guide to control the long swords exuding a terrifying aura and charged towards Luo Zhiro. Luo Zhiro looked at Jian Wuming who was almost going crazy, and the speculation in her heart became more solid. She never believed that a so-called disciple would be given a surname by Jian Wuming, and even creation-level treasures of heaven, materials and earth could be given to him at will. But Luo Zhiro doesn't care about these, she just wants to return to the White Feather God Sect as soon as possible. Looking at the several rays of sword light rushing toward her, Luo Zhirou's hand gently brushed the red gold phoenix feathers between her long hair. A streak of crimson energy also followed Luo Zhirou's lead and came to her. Boom! The next moment, the shield formed by the red energy collided with Jian Wuming's long sword. At the same time, Luo Zhirou's body also disappeared. When she reappeared, she was already in front of Jian Wuming. The white flying feathers that filled the sky with a cold light flew out from behind Luo Zhiro and went straight towards Jian Wuming. Seeing this scene, Jian Wuming waved his fingers again, and countless flying swords appeared in front of him out of thin air, forming a dense sword network. However, at the moment when the white flying feathers collided with the sword net, Jian Wuming's eyes suddenly jumped. As one of the 4 people who stood at the absolute apex of the Kanglan realm, Jian Wuming knew how difficult it would be to break through to the Hunyuan Saint realm. The 3 members of the Righteous Path Alliance, who are at the 9th level of the Tribulation realm, still have no clue after 100 years. After all, it is really difficult to grasp the power of the illusory law. But during the collision between Jian Wuming and Luo Zhiro just now, he suddenly discovered that Luo Zhirou's spiritual power had begun to contain the power of law. Although this power is very thin, it is enough to shock Jian Wuming. Luo Zhiro, what exactly have you encountered during this time? Jian Wuming couldn't accept that his hundreds of years of hard training were not worth Luo Zhirou's short training. Facing Jian Wuming's inquiry, a gentle look suddenly flashed across Luo Zhirou's eyes. Perhaps only when she thinks of Si Chen, the iceberg-like Luo Zhiro will show her gentle side. Luo Zhiro said calmly, "This seems to have nothing to do with you." As he spoke, Jian Wuming's sword net was also broken by Luo Zhirou's white flying feathers, and his body fell back 100 meters away. Several long swords floating in the sky returned to their scabbards, and Jian Wuming's face was extremely solemn. The shock caused by this incident even made Jian Wuming temporarily put aside the pain of losing his son. After he snorted heavily, his figure slowly disappeared from the place. Luo Zhiro, we won't just let this matter go. Jian Wuming knew that he would not be able to get any advantage from Luo Zhiro if he continued to stay. He needs to tell the other two guys about this as soon as possible. Seeing Jian Wuming's figure disappear into the sky, Luo Zhiro did not stop him. Although she was slightly stronger than Jian Wuming because she was contaminated by Si Chen's power of law. However, it is far from being able to leave Jian Wuming behind. Without stopping any longer, Luo Zhiro headed straight towards the direction of the White Feather God Sect. The White Feather Sect is within the Rakshasa Peak mountain. At a certain moment, Si Chen, who was sitting cross-legged in the spiritual pond, slowly opened his eyes. A majestic and extreme power burst out from Si Chen's body, and the impact of energy even made the entire Rakshasa Peak begin to shake. Buzz! The shadow of the giant tree behind Si Chen, which seemed to contain thousands of worlds, was almost completely solidified and began to grow rapidly. Soon, the shadow of the giant tree covered the entire Rakshasa Peak, and its growth still did not stop. At this moment, the entire White Feather Sect turned their attention towards Rakshasa Peak. Looking at the towering ancient tree reaching into the clouds, everyone in the White Feather God Sect was shocked. Facing the huge pressure of World Tree, they even couldn't help but have the urge to kneel down and worship. The shadow of the World Tree did not last long, and soon turned into mysterious energy and merged into the Rakshasa Peak. To be precise, it fell into Si Chen's body. Opening his hands and feeling the feedback from the World Tree, Si Chen nodded with satisfaction. At the same time, Si Chen also looked to his side. "Lady." Si Chen searched the entire cave but could not find Luo Zhiro, so he hurried out of the cave. In that mysterious state, Si Chen was not sure how long he had spent. So he needed to find someone to ask as soon as possible. When they came outside the cave, Si Chen also saw the figures of Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu. "Lao Mu, Lao Lu, where is Zhiro?" Seeing Si Chen walking out of the cave, Mr. Mu and Mr. Lu's faces were filled with wonder. Obviously, they were all shocked by the power of the World Tree just now. Mr. Mu said softly, "We don't know where the leader has gone. Before she left, she only told us to watch the young master." Si Chen frowned after hearing what Mr. Mu said. "How long have I been practicing?" 3 days. The leader has also left for 3 days. Where did she go? West. Without asking any more questions, Si Chen thanked the two guardians and then headed towards the west. After flying westward for an unknown amount of time, Si Chen gradually approached the boundary of the White Feather Sect's territory. At this time, his eyes suddenly moved. Relying on his powerful soul power, Si Chen can keenly sense that there is a battle ahead. And from the aftermath, it can be seen that both parties involved in the war are extremely powerful. Si Chen can be called strong at this time, perhaps only those in the tribulation realm have this ability. This also means that the fighting party will most likely be Luo Zhiro. Realizing this, Si Chen's eyes suddenly flashed a bit of violence. He stepped hard, the aura in his body surged, and he flew forward quickly. On the other side, after repelling Jian Wuming, Luo Zhiro quickly rushed towards the White Feather Sect. Luo Zhiro didn't want Si Chen to be without her when he opened his eyes, and she also wanted to give the gift she prepared to Si Chen as soon as possible. although Luo Zhiro is thousands of miles away from the western border of the White Feather God Sect. But for Luo Zhiro and Si Chen, who were rushing on their way, this was really not much of a distance. Luo Zhiro, who was on her way, suddenly trembled, and a look of surprise flashed across her beautiful eyes. She could clearly feel Si Chen's aura appearing in front of her. But at this moment, the aura on Si Chen's body was very unstable, and the power in his body was not as strong as in the cave ruins realm. Realizing this, Luo Zhiro speeded up her steps. Finally, in the sky above a force affiliated with the White Feather God Sect, Luo Zhiro saw Si Chen speeding towards him. Bad family. Luo Zhiro was about to speak, but Si Chen's body did not stop at all, flying straight towards her and hugging her tightly. Being held by Si Chen like this, listening to his heavy breathing due to running hard and worrying, Luo Zhiro only felt that the softest part of her heart was hit hard. This feeling of being cared for by the one she loved really made Luo Zhiro sink deeply. Patting Si Chen's back gently, Luo Zhiro said timidly, "Bad guy, this leader is fine." Lying in Si Chen's arms, Luo Zhiro still had the tough attitude she had when she had just confronted Jian Wuming. She looked like a soft-spoken little daughter-in-law. If Jian Wuming and Jian Feiyu saw this look, their eyes would probably pop out of their heads. Si Chen checked Luo Zhiro up and down, inside and out. When he was sure that Luo Zhiro was really fine, he looked at Luo Zhiro's big watery eyes. "Who was the lady fighting just now?" Luo Zhiro said softly, "Jian Wuming from the Poji Sword Sect." But he knew he was no match for the leader, so he has already retreated. Hearing Luo Zhiro's words, Si Chen frowned. "The Poji Sword Sect of the Righteous Alliance. Have they taken action against the lady?" A flash of panic flashed in Luo Zhiro's eyes, and she didn't know how to tell Si Chen the reason. "You can't say that I killed someone's child just to steal the gift you gave me. Wouldn't that make the leader seem too domineering and unreasonable? Actually, it's not a big deal," Luo Zhiro defended in a low voice. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro's cute and confused look and couldn't help but raise his hand and tap her forehead. "No more questions, no more questions, the most important thing is that my wife is fine." Luo Zhiro held Si Chen's shoulders with both hands, leaned close to Si Chen's ear and whispered, "Let's go back, this leader has a gift for you." Quote! Quote. Hearing Luo Zhiro's words, Si Chen's body shook violently. Si Chen remembered clearly that the last time Luo Zhiro said she wanted to give him a gift, he and Luo Zhiro didn't leave the room for 3 days. And now Luo Zhiro wants to give him another gift. The gifts at that time had already exploded like this, so Si Chen didn't dare to think how the gifts that needed to be prepared after a battle would explode into something. Hey. Seeing the crazy smile on Si Chen's face, Luo Zhiro looked confused. "Bad guy, what are you thinking about? You laugh so obscenely." Back on Rakshasa Peak, Si Chen pushed open the door of the room, pulled Luo Zhiro and ran into the room. In the process, Si Chen quickly flung off his shirt, so fast that it almost exceeded the limit of the human body. When Luo Zhiro gently closed the door of the room and was about to give the gift she had carefully prepared to Si Chen, Si Chen was already sitting shirtless on the edge of the bed, looking at Luo Zhiro expectantly. Quote? Looking at Si Chen, who was sitting naked on the bedside, Luo Zhiro froze on the spot. She rolled her eyes at Si Chen angrily. "Bad guy, are you thinking about lewd things again?" Facing Luo Zhiro's inquiry, Si Chen looked at her seriously. "Madam, how can you miss your husband-in-law so much? Your husband-in-law has always been a gentleman. I'm just assuming the correct posture in advance when receiving gifts." Luo Zhiro snorted softly. I don't believe your nonsense." While Luo Zhiro was talking, she also came to sit next to Si Chen. She poked Si Chen's chest. "Bad guy, hurry up and put on your clothes." "No, madam," Si Chen held Luo Zhiro's hand and said helplessly. "I have to take it off soon anyway. How troublesome it is to put it on now." Facing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro felt confused. "Why? You have to take it off after a while." Si Chen touched Luo Zhiro's shoulder with his shoulder. "Madam, you are already an old married woman and you are still so reserved. Go to the side of the room to change clothes." Quote? Luo Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen's expectant face, and a bright idea suddenly flashed through her mind. She suddenly remembered the gift she gave Si Chen for the first time. Luo Zhirou's eyes narrowed slightly, and a kind smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Ms. Sir, why should I go inside to change clothes? Why? Now it was Si Chen's turn to be confused. Si Chen looked at the smile on Luo Zhirou's face and asked in a low voice, is the gift this time different from the last time? But as soon as Si Chen finished speaking, he noticed something was wrong. Why does my wife's smile look so dangerous? You bad guy, I know you have no good intentions. I will bite you to death. Luo Zhiro kicked off her shoes and rushed towards Si Chen with bared teeth and claws. Si Chen, who was sitting by the bed, was thrown backwards by Luo Zhiro. At the same time, Luo Zhiro also pressed on Si Chen. Without any hesitation, Luo Zhiro fiercely bit Si Chen's neck. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou's angry look and begged loudly for mercy. Madam, I was wrong. I regret it. Where did you go wrong? I shouldn't have bad thoughts about my wife. You don't have any objections to my leader. It seems you are fed up. I will bite you to death. Quote. The couple played in this cheerful and warm atmosphere for a long time. And just when Luo Zhiro was busy punishing Si Chen, she suddenly discovered that Si Chen's big hands hugged her waist tightly. She was now lying on Si Chen's body, and her body was hugged tightly by Si Chen. The key was that Si Chen hadn't put on his shirt yet. Realizing this, Luo Zhirou's pretty face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. She seemed to have foreseen what was going to happen next. At this time, Si Chen came close to Luo Zhirou's ear and blew gently into her ear. Madam, is it your turn? No. No, even if it works, it will take a while. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro in his arms, tilted his head and asked, when will that happen? When asked by Si Chen, Luo Zhiro finally remembered. She still has business to do. Luo Zhiro patted Si Chen's chest lightly. It's all your fault, you scoundrel, for making you make such a fuss. This leader has even forgotten his business. Si Chen rubbed Luo Zhirou's little nose with his nose and said with a serious face, my lady, please give me instructions. PFF. Luo Zhiro was so amused by Si Chen's appearance that she couldn't help but laugh. But her little hands immediately reached into her arms. A few breaths later, a black and white yin and yang geranium appeared in Luo Zhirou's hands. Two flowers, one black and one white, are indeed connected at the roots. The moment the yin-yang geranium appeared, the room was instantly filled with rich spiritual energy that was unique to the creation-level treasures of heaven and earth. The rich yin and yang qi are constantly circulating on the yin and yang geranium. Just when Si Chen was stunned, Luo Zhirou's words also rang in his ears. This is the treasure that my leader asked for from the Righteous Alliance. Its name is the yin-yang geranium. Hey, bad guy, I'll give it to you. As Luo Zhiro spoke, she also handed the yin-yang geranium in her hand to Si Chen. Si Chen looked at the creation-grade heavenly material and earthly treasure in Luo Zhirou's hand, and his eyes fluctuated violently for a few times. Madam, is it just for this treasure that you broke into the Righteous Alliance alone? Si Chen never thought that a woman would pay such a high price to give him a gift. Just like there are girls who have been frugal for a long time and still want to give you sneakers and watches 0. Oh. Although Luo Zhiro said it was calm and gentle, Si Chen found it difficult just thinking about the twists and turns involved. Gently holding Luo Zhirou's hand holding the yin-yang tianju orchid, Si Chen's eyes were full of emotion. Madam, although he was filled with countless emotions in his heart, Si Chen didn't know how to speak. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen, her big watery eyes curved into a crescent moon, and a pair of pear dimples loomed on her pretty face. Nothing made her happier than Si Chen being able to like her gift. Luo Zhiro raised her left hand and waved it in front of Si Chen. On the ring finger of her left hand, the Lingyun Danja ring was shining with a strange light. Bad guy, if you give me a wedding ring, of course I will also have something to give you. But, Luo Zhirou's pretty face turned red and then said, this thing is not for you alone, but for us to use together. Yin and yang geraniums are divided into yin and yang plants. Men belong to yang and should take the white part, women belong to yin and take the black part. After taking it, in addition to the powerful medicinal power of the creation level, it can also greatly improve the compatibility between Dao couples. When practicing dual cultivation, the cultivation effect will be greatly improved. Si Chen nodded heavily, lowered his head and kissed Luo Zhiro gently on the lips. Thank you, madam, I like it very much. Luo Zhiro snorted softly and turned away arrogantly. HMPH, this is pretty much the same. It should be no worse than the previous gift, right? Si Chen chuckled. Compared with foreign objects, a wife is definitely the most important, so the previous gift is the best. But I also like this one. Bah, you are greedy for the body of this leader. Luo Zhiro said, her eyes full of happiness. At this time, Si Chen suddenly said, Madam, people from the Righteous Alliance will not give this to you so easily, right? According to Si Chen's understanding, creation-level treasures of heaven, materials and earth are extremely precious anywhere in the Kanglin realm. But Luo Zhiro got it in front of her like this. Luo Zhiro scratched her head in embarrassment. Well, anyway, I have gone through some twists and turns. Si Chen asked in a low voice, Madam, you won't kill the whole family anymore, will you? No way. Luo Zhirou's beautiful eyes widened. I only killed a few people. And those few were all people who had violated the forces affiliated with the divine religion. As Luo Zhiro said, it was not without reason that Luo Zhiro approached Jian Feiyu this time. Because the Tianjian sect had gone to war with the affiliated forces of the White Feather sect more than once, all of which were instigated by Jian Feiyu. My lady did the right thing. Si Chen hugged Luo Zhiro tightly and said with a very firm tone, you should deal with such people like a lady. Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro smiled sweetly, I wish you wouldn't dislike me. It's too late for me to like her, so how can I dislike my wife? Luo Zhiro rested her head on Si Chen's chest and listened quietly to his heartbeat. Si Chen just hugged Luo Zhiro like this. Suddenly, Luo Zhiro felt Si Chen's big hands put on the belt around her waist. Sensing Si Chen's behavior, Luo Zhiro poked Si Chen's chest dissatisfied. Bad guy, why do you think about these things all day long? Si Chen chuckled. Don't yin-yang geranium have the best effect when used during dual cultivation? That's also. Luo Zhiro quibbled in a low voice. Then let's agree in advance. Your socks have been torn, so I don't want to wear them anymore. Bad guy, what is that power in your body? Luo Zhiro lay on Si Chen's chest like a kitten. Her lazy and cute look made Si Chen couldn't help but laugh. Coupled with the exercise just now, Luo Zhirou's hair was a little loose in front of her forehead, adding a bit of charm to her. Si Chen patted Luo Zhirou's back and asked softly, what power? Law. Luo Zhirou's expression was very serious. It stands to reason that only those who have completely broken through the Hunyuan Saint in cultivation can master one or more laws. This leader has been trapped in the 9th level of the tribulation realm for many years, but he has never understood any of the laws. This is also the fundamental reason why the 3 old guys from the Righteous Alliance and I have never broken through to the Hunyuan Saint. Quote. But just before, when my spiritual power and your meridians were connected to each other, I felt the power of the law from your body. However, I have never been exposed to this kind of law. It feels very scary and strange. Quote. Luo Zhiro looked puzzled. I never thought that the power of law would actually appear in the body of the cave ruins realm. Now you know how powerful your husband is, Si Chen said with a smile. After listening to Luo Zhirou's explanation, Si Chen also had some enlightenment in his heart. The law Luo Zhiro was referring to should be the power of the world tree when it sprouts. I just don't know what level the laws carried by the world tree are among all the laws. This time, Luo Zhiro did not refute Si Chen. She looked at Si Chen with bright eyes and said, I have to say, although you are a bad guy who always bullies me, you can always bring me surprises. Si Chen asked again, doesn't this mean that I can help my wife break through to the Hunyuan realm? By then my wife will be a legendary saint. That's what he said, Luo Zhiro said while thinking, but the reality is not so simple. There are many laws that are consumed to break through the Hunyuan realm. I don't know how many years it will take to bring out the few laws that can be brought out by simply relying on the interconnection of meridians. Quote. Si Chen's eyes flashed brightly. In other words, we need a cultivation method that can fully integrate the spiritual power of two people. There seems to be only one way to do this, right? What? Luo Zhiro asked with some confusion. Si Chen didn't speak. Light flashed in his hand, and the yin-yang geranium that Luo Zhiro gave him before also appeared in his hand. He blinked at Luo Zhiro. Madam. Quote exclamation mark. Quote. Originally, Luo Zhiro was still curious about what method Si Chen was talking about, but when she saw the yin-yang geranium in Si Chen's hand, she instantly understood. For a moment, Luo Zhirou's face turned red and her eyes were full of panic. She instantly retreated into the quilt and covered her whole head with the quilt. At the same time, Luo Zhirou's slightly trembling voice also came from the quilt. This leader doesn't want to practice dual cultivation with you. Don't even think about it. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro, who was lying on his chest, covering her whole body with a quilt, and her eyes were full of smiles. No, madam, I haven't said anything yet. Don't think that this leader doesn't know what you are thinking. I am very aware of your bad thoughts. Luo Zhirou's voice came from the quilt again. Why didn't you say anything before you bullied me? Now that you've finished bullying me, why did you take out this thing? You have clearly planned this. You want to bully me one more time. Ah, cough. Si Chen coughed lightly and said with a serious face, I just didn't think of it. You are the only one who believes in this leader. Ah, it's so itchy. As soon as Luo Zhiro finished speaking, she found Si Chen's big hand touching her waist and began to rub it gently. Feeling itchy on her waist, Luo Zhiro lifted the quilt covering her head with a blushing face. At this time, she also saw Si Chen's smiling eyes. Feeling ashamed and angry, Luo Zhiro sat up and pushed Si Chen down. She crossed her arms across her chest and said angrily, You are a bad guy who doesn't want to get down to business every day, so you just think about how to bully this leader. No way, Si Chen shouted unjustly. Since I don't want this, let's forget it. My husband will never mention it again in the future. Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro suddenly hesitated. Luo Zhiro actually knew in her heart that although the method Si Chen said was very embarrassing, it was indeed the fastest way to accumulate the power of the law. After all, among all cultivation methods, apart from enlightenment and enlightenment, dual cultivation is indeed one of the fastest methods. But at this moment, Luo Zhiro took the initiative to say that she wanted to practice dual cultivation. How could she open her mouth? For a moment, Luo Zhiro was riding a tiger with a look of confusion on his face. Finally, Luo Zhiro leaned down and bit Si Chen's neck hard. Playing hard to get no longer works for me. Is it really not working? Si Chen tilted his head and smiled. Of course I don't care. Ha, this leader doesn't know. Ha ha ha. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou's cute and arrogant look, laughed and sat up, holding her tightly in his arms. Luo Zhiro lay in Si Chen's arms, raised her fist and hit Si Chen on the chest. You bad guy. Si Chen lowered his head and looked at Luo Zhirou's big, watery eyes, and asked in a low voice, Madam, do you want me to go to the Kung Fu Pavilion to get the creation-level dual cultivation technique? Facing Si Chen's smiling eyes, Luo Zhiro lowered her head and did not look at him. At the same time, she muttered in a low voice, This certain person is the great elder of the divine sect. I can't stop him from taking whatever skills he wants from the Kung Fu Pavilion. Si Chen said with a serious face, Madam, everything we do is for the divine religion. Hey, Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen with a cute expression, why? No matter how hard she thought about it, her little mind couldn't figure out why Si Chen would say that she and Si Chen cultivated together for the sake of the divine religion. Si Chen said with a deep expression, Although the White Feather Sect is already the most powerful demon sect in the Kinglan realm, it is still constrained by the Righteous Alliance. But if the lady succeeds in breaking through the Hunyuan realm, then the divine sect will completely surpass the apex of the entire Kinglan realm. When Si Chen said this, Luo Zhiro nodded somewhat dully, that seems to be the case. That's what it must be. Si Chen swore and patted his chest. So everything we are doing now is for the good of the religion. We have a clear conscience. Quote. Looking at Si Chen's serious look, Luo Zhiro suddenly felt that what he said made sense. But Luo Zhiro always felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't explain it. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou's cute appearance, The smile on his lips widened infinitely, and he couldn't help but laugh out loud. When Luo Zhiro heard Si Chen's laughter, her rationality that was occupied by her love brain finally recovered a little. Bad guy, are you trying to fool me? No way, madam, what I said is all the truth. Bah, I almost believed your nonsense. You still have a clear conscience. Give me a kick from my leader. It's so itchy. Bad guy, how dare you tickle my leader's feet? I don't dare anymore. If you don't believe me, just try again. Bah, 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 this leader will not be fooled by you. In the room, Luo Zhiro put her feet on Si Chen's chest to stop him from continuing to mess around. Si Chen held Luo Zhirou's ankle with a look of grief and anger, and waved his other arm in an exaggerated manner. If the members of the divine religion saw this scene, their eyes would definitely pop out. How could they still be the invincible leader and great elder in their hearts? And just as the two of them were immersed in this warm atmosphere and playing around, there were knocks at the door. Dong dong dong. The sudden knock on the door caused the playful couple to move, and Luo Zhiro sat up instantly. In a flash of light, a white robe appeared on her body. At this time, Mr. Emu's voice also came from outside the door. Leader, the fifth elder is back and seems to have something important to report to you. Fifth elder. Hearing the words outside the door, Luo Zhiro and Si Chen looked at each other at the same time. When they were encircling Chu Baiquan and others, Luo Zhiro had already asked the 5 elders of the Summoning God Sect to come back. However, the people who went to look for the 5th elder brought back news. A major conflict seemed to have broken out at the junction of the White Feather Sect and the Righteous Alliance. The 5th elder cannot escape because of matters at the boundary of the divine religion, so his return may be delayed. Now, several days after Chu Baiquan and others were surrounded and suppressed, the 5th elder who had never seen the dragon finally appeared. Lady, as if aware of Si Chen's doubts, Luo Zhiro explained softly, the 5th elder's name is Tu Zuo, and he is one of my master's former guards. The master passed away. Tu Zuo always thought that he failed to protect the master. Later he became the 5th elder of the divine religion. I have seen everything he has done for the divine religion over the years. He can be trusted. After listening to Luo Zhirou's words, Si Chen also nodded slightly. Let me go and see it with my wife. While talking, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro were also dressed. Arriving at the reception hall on Rakshasa Peak, Si Chen also saw a middle-aged man wearing gray cloth. The middle-aged man's aura was thick and bloody, and his eyes were even more sharp. Si Chen could tell at a glance that the man must have experienced countless baptisms of blood. Leader, seeing Luo Zhiro coming, Tu Zuo stood up and saluted, and at the same time he looked at Si Chen. He also slightly arched his hands towards Si Chen, Great Elder. Obviously, Tu Zuo had already understood what happened during this period after returning to the cult. He also had a clear understanding of Si Chen's identity. Si Chen held his wrist, lifted him up, and smiled at him. 5th elder, let's get down to business. Tu Zuo nodded, his expression becoming extremely serious. Cult leader, Great Elder, please forgive me for not being able to return to the cult before. Because of the issues surrounding the religious boundary, I really can't get away from it. Luo Zhiro frowned. Frictions at the borders of divine religions happen from time to time. Why did it take so long this time? Just 7 days ago, a monstrous purple light suddenly appeared at the border between the divine sect and the Kenyan sect. The aura carried in this purple light is extremely powerful, far beyond my understanding. But now that the ban has not been opened, no one can know what is under the ban. It seems to be an amethyst vein. And there seems to be a treasure buried deep within the amethyst vein. Tu Zuo said in a deep voice. Because of the location of the purple light, the aura it spreads attracted the attention of both the divine sect and the Kenyan sect. Cult leader, Great Elder, the people of Kenyan sect must also be rushing towards this opportunity at this moment. After Tu Zuo finished speaking, the hall fell into silence. At this time, Luo Zhiro said, 5th elder, what is the situation at the border now? How long can the ban last? Tu Zuo said. The people from the divine sect have surrounded this opportunity, but the Kenyan sect is also deploying manpower here. If it's banned, maybe it will be opened in half a month. Luo Zhiro and Si Chen looked at each other, and Luo Zhiro said to Tu Zuo, Fifth Elder, you are tired from traveling and traveling, so go and take a rest first. Yes, Chu Zuo nodded. He naturally knew that Luo Zhiro needed time to think about this matter. After Chu Zuo left, Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro. Madam, what are you going to do? No one can take away the things from the divine religion. Luo Zhiro said in a deep voice. Since Kenyan sect wants to rob it, then it must be prepared to pay the price. After Luo Zhiro took over the White Feather sect, his methods were vigorous and resolute, and his external attitude was extremely tough. So in this matter, Luo Zhiro will never allow Kang Yan sect to take away the opportunity that belongs to the White Feather sect. Si Chen also nodded. I will accompany my wife, and the 4 elders can just stay. The sect needs elders to take charge. Luo Zhiro turned to look at Si Chen. She was about to say something, but then Si Chen pinched her cheek. Madam, you'd better not say anything that makes me stay because you're afraid of my danger, otherwise, your husband-in-law will punish you severely. When Si Chen said this, Luo Zhirou's words that were already on her lips were interrupted by Si Chen. Snort. Luo Zhiro snorted softly and turned her head away from Si Chen. What if you were in danger? Also, when will it be your turn to punish the head of the family? Si Chen hugged Luo Zhiro from behind and said helplessly, Madam, why are you coaxing your son? Your husband-in-law is not weak anymore, okay. Si Chen knew without even thinking that Luo Zhiro would worry about him being in danger and not let him go. But Luo Zhiro was worried about him, so how could Si Chen not be worried about Luo Zhiro? So he directly interrupted Luo Zhiro. He must go with Luo Zhiro. You are the one coaxing your son. Luo Zhirou's pretty face turned red at Si Chen's words. She rolled her eyes at Si Chen angrily. What did you say? Si Chen sat on the chair, and Luo Zhiro was led by him to sit on his lap. Si Chen held Luo Zhirou's waist. Madam, although I have become the great elder of the divine religion, I have not done anything for the divine religion yet. Do you want others to say that I, the great elder, was brought here with you on your lap? Luo Zhiro frowned and seemed to have thought of this. So far, Si Chen seems to have only taken action once when he was encircling and suppressing Chu Baiquan. Although she knew Si Chen's strength, the members of the divine sect didn't know yet. It might as well take this opportunity to show off. At this time, Si Chen said again, didn't the 5th elder just say that that opportunity will not open for another half a month? It just so happens that we don't have to be too anxious on our way to the border of the cult. We can look around. Hearing this, Luo Zhirou's eyes suddenly flashed with light. She looked at Si Chen, held her head high and said arrogantly, then for the sake of the face you, a bad guy, want to pay for the divine religion, I, the leader, will let you go with me. That's right. Si Chen pinched Luo Zhirou's nose and said with a smile, I have been in the cult since I got married, and now I finally have the opportunity to go on a honeymoon. Who wants to spend their honeymoon with you? I am here to do business. Although she said this, the joy in Luo Zhirou's eyes completely betrayed her heart. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro with a wicked smile on his face. Madam, you can laugh if you want, I can tell. Nonsense. You are not allowed to look. Luo Zhiro raised her hands to cover her face, preventing Si Chen from seeing the smile on her lips. Righteous Alliance, Kang Yan Sect. On a mountain peak with extremely rich spiritual energy, 3 figures of different shapes sat in front of a stone table, their expressions a little solemn. One of them was surprisingly the leader of the Poji Sword Sect, Jian Wuming, who had fought against Luo Zhiro before. The other 2 figures, one is an old man wearing a fiery red brocade robe, and the other is a bald monk holding a golden Zen staff. It can be seen from the auras spread by the 2 of them that their realm is no weaker than the Sword Wuming. And they are also the other 2 members of the Righteous Path Alliance who are at the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm. Yan Tianao, the leader of Kenyan Sect, and Takumi, abbot of Ziguang Temple. Brother Wuming, is everything you said true? Luo Zhiro has really understood the law. At this time, Yan Tianao, who was sitting in the first place, asked first, while Takumi also looked at Jian Wuming. Just today, the 2 of them suddenly received an urgent message from Jian Wuming. The content of the message also surprised the 2 of them. As the only 3rd person in the 9th level of the Tribulation Realm in Kanglan Realm today, the 3 of them all knew what would happen to the 3 of them if Luo Zhiro succeeded in breaking through to the Saint Realm. By then, I am afraid that the White Feather Sect will be the dominant family in Kanglan realm. Facing Yan Tianao's question, Jian Wuming said in a deep voice, it's not that she has understood the law, but there is a faint aura of the law in her spiritual power. She probably didn't comprehend the law herself, but got the opportunity to possess the breath of the law. Hearing this, the solemnity in Yan Tianao and Tuo Hai's eyes became less serious. But they certainly can't just let it go. Otherwise, if Luo Zhiro really understood the law from that opportunity, the consequences would not be acceptable to them. Yan Tianao looked at Jian Wuming and Takumi. I wonder how you two have decided to handle this matter. Jian Wuming was the first to say, you and I will join forces to kill Luo Zhiro. Completely extinguish the demon sect's arrogance. Obviously, he is still worried about Luo Zhiro killing Jian Feiyu. Among the three, he is also the most hostile to the White Feather Sect. When Yan Tianao and Tuo Hai heard Jian Wuming's words, they frowned slightly and did not echo them. Killing a 9th-level tribulation realm is easy to say, but if you really put it into action, the price you have to pay is too high. Neither Yan Tianao nor Tuo Hai can guarantee whether Luo Zhiro will support someone before he dies. And it would be better if Jian Wuming was the one to back him up. If it was the two of them, then their huge family fortune will really give their allies an advantage. Thinking of this, Yan Tianao and Takumi's eyes looked a little subtle. Takumi said slowly, killing Luo Zhiro involves too much. From my point of view, it is better to find an opportunity to strike. By the way, snatch that opportunity away, or destroy it. Yan Tianao also said, what Brother Tuo Hai said is right. After hearing what the two of them said, Jian Wuming naturally knew the concerns in their hearts, so even though he had a lot of hatred in his heart, he couldn't do anything to win over Luo Zhiro. Jian Wuming shouted sternly, even if we can't kill her, we must completely cut off her access to the law. Of course, as soon as Yan Tianao finished speaking, his brows moved, and a beautiful figure wearing a fiery red phoenix feather dress appeared next to him. The girl is extremely tall, has a delicate and charming face, and her long white hair is extremely eye-catching. The three people present stopped talking at the same time and looked at the girl who suddenly appeared. Yan Tianao said displeased Ly, Yan Ji, didn't you see that my father was talking to the two seniors? Although his words were meant as accusations, anyone could hear that he barely concealed his doting on the girl in front of him. The girl came to Yan Tianao's side and whispered a few words to him. After the girl finished speaking, Yan Tianao's expression also changed. Yan Ji, please step aside and let me handle this matter for my father. Yes. After Yan Ji saluted Jian Wuming and Takumi again, she left directly. Yan Tianao looked at Jian Wuming and Tuo Hai, and suddenly smiled. You two, the opportunity to beat Luo Zhiro is right in front of you. Oh, Jian Wuming's brows moved. Brother Yan, how do you say this? A great opportunity has appeared on the border between Kangyan Sect and White Feather Sect. According to the news, the 5th elder of White Feather Sect has returned to White Feather Sect to report to Luo Zhiro. As Yan Tianao spoke, the light in Jian Wuming's eyes became sharper. He shouted with a gloomy look, Luo Zhiro, I will completely destroy all your hopes of breaking through to the Hunyuan realm. White Feather God Sect, on Rakshasa Peak. Luo Zhiro sat on the edge of the bed, holding the edge of the bed with her hands and her little feet swaying gently in the air. Just before, after a discussion with Si Chen, Luo Zhiro decided to let Mu Lao and Lu Lao follow 5th Elder Tu Zuo to the place of opportunity first, while she and Si Chen went alone. At this time, there is still half a month before the restriction is opened, and if they go at full speed, it will only take 1 day at most. Therefore, Luo Zhiro and Si Chen still have a long period of time at their disposal. And this is why Luo Zhiro is as happy as a child. Although Luo Zhiro didn't know the specific meaning of the word honeymoon, she felt filled with joy when she thought that this was something only couples could do. Just when Luo Zhiro was sitting in the room, thinking wildly, the door of the room was gently pushed open by Si Chen. Seeing Si Chen coming, Luo Zhiro asked with some confusion, "Bad guy, where have you been?" Si Chen came to Luo Zhiro and smiled softly at her. "I went to the information hall." Information hall. Luo Zhiro paused lightly. "What are you doing there?" Si Chen slowly raised his hand, and there was a dazzling light ball in his hand. Luo Jiru's slender fingers gently tapped on the light group, and a map outlined by the flowing light appeared in front of the two of them. Si Chen pointed to a point on the map and said with a smile, "This seems to be the boundary of Heihuan Sect. The elders of the information hall said that there is an ancient city here, and there are hundreds of hectares of albizia trees in the ancient city. At this time of year, when the albizia flowers are in full bloom, Taoist monks from all over the world will come here. It is said that Taoist couples who witness the blooming of albizia flowers together can last for a long time, and their relationship will be more intimate." As Si Chen spoke, he was also rubbing his chin and thinking. It is said that the city also sells various gadgets that are only used by Taoist monks. It seems that they can also help you get pregnant. After Si Chen finished speaking, he suddenly found that Luo Zhiro was muttering something blankly at this moment. Taoist couple. For a long time, like glue and paint. Si Chen stretched out his hand in front of Luo Zhiro and waved it. "Madam. Why are you so dazed?" "Ah." Luo Zhiro suddenly woke up, her little head shaking continuously. Nothing. Do you want to come here? If you don't like it, I'll look elsewhere." Si Chen asked again. Facing Si Chen's expectant gaze, Luo Zhiru's eyes continued to dodge. Her voice was almost inaudible, and her big eyes were full of spring water. I wanna go. By the way, it shouldn't take that long to go to the information hall, right?" After saying, "I want to go," to Si Chen, Luo Zhiro looked into Si Chen's smiling eyes. In order to cover up her inner panic, Luo Zhiro quickly changed the subject. But Luo Zhiro herself didn't expect that her casual question would actually get to the point. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro with a serious face and said, "Yes, in addition to going to the information hall, I also went to the Kung Fu Pavilion." Luo Zhiro was a little surprised at first, but then nodded. She patted Si Chen on the shoulder happily, her face obviously cute, but her tone was very old-fashioned. "Did you not expect that, bad guy? You are quite motivated. Even when I go out on a mission, I don't forget to practice new techniques. This leader is very pleased. By the way, what skills have you mastered? I can give you some pointers." After Luo Zhiro said this, she looked at Si Chen expectantly. However, she suddenly realized that something was wrong with Si Chen's eyes. Why is the smile so strange? Why does it feel so erotic? At this time, light flashed in Si Chen's hand, and an ancient scroll appeared in his hand. Si Chen handed the scroll to Luo Zhiro and smiled slightly. "Madam, have you also dabbled in dual cultivation techniques? I'm involved with you." The first time she saw the scroll in Si Chen's hand, Luo Zhiru's eyes became extremely strange. Reaching out his hand and pinching Si Chen's waist, Luo Zhiru's beautiful eyes widened. "You bad guy, you've been going to the Kung Fu Pavilion for so long just to find a dual cultivation technique." "Ahem." Si Chen coughed lightly. "Madam, didn't we agree before that we would practice together? We are all leaving the Divine Sect, so of course we must bring the exercises with us in advance." Who made the deal with you? Don't even think about it." After Luo Zhiro said that, she turned around to prevent Si Chen from seeing her pretty red face. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiru's appearance and put away the scroll in his hand with a smile. "Madam, the two guardians and the fifth elder have already set off for the border of the cult. Is it time for us to set out to inspect the work?" "Certainly." After hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhiro said without hesitation. Luo Zhiro sat on the edge of the bed, slightly raised her calf toward Si Chen, and stretched her little feet in front of Si Chen. "Nah." Si Chen glanced at Luo Zhiro, who looked arrogant, and held her little feet in his hands fondly and helplessly. "You are so old and still look like a little girl." As Si Chen said this, he helped Luo Zhiro put on her brand new footwear, and then put on her shoes. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen who was helping her put on her socks and snorted playfully. "HMPH, who told you, a scoundrel, to always take advantage of my leader? Of course I will find an opportunity to take advantage of you. ... Everything is finally ready, and the affairs of the divine religion have been arranged with Yu Guanxian and others." On the Rakshasa peak, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro looked at each other, with a hint of expectation in their eyes. Si Chen held Luo Zhiru's waist, and their figures turned into light and swept away into the distance. Being held by Si Chen and flying over the White Feather God Sect, Luo Zhiro looked at the large and small buildings and dotted peaks below, and suddenly felt a trance. As the leader of the White Feather Sect, Luo Zhiro has flown over the territory of the White Feather Sect countless times. But this time, Luo Zhirou's mentality was completely different from before. She even felt that everything along the way became beautiful. Luo Zhiro knew that this was not because the White Feather God Sect had become beautiful. It's because he has Si Chen beside him. Being held in Si Chen's arms, Luo Zhiro raised her head and looked at Si Chen's side face. She suddenly stretched out her arms to wrap around Si Chen's neck, stood up on tiptoes and pecked him gently on the lips. After completing this series of actions, Luo Zhiro quickly retracted her hand like a frightened little animal and buried her face deeply into Si Chen's chest. Si Chen, who was looking at the map and concentrating on his way, was stunned by Luo Zhirou's sudden move. He lowered his head and looked at Luo Zhiro, with a gentle smile on his lips. Si Chen did not speak, but tightened the arm holding Luo Zhiro a little. In this atmosphere, the couple flew quickly towards the territory belonging to the Heihuan Sect. As an affiliated force of the White Feather Sect, the Heihuan Sect is not too far away from the White Feather Sect. Soon, a very quaint city appeared in his and Luo Zhirou's sight. Even though they were hundreds of miles apart, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro could still see the hundreds of hectares of acacia groves connected to the ancient city. It seems that the time for full bloom has not yet come, and the albizia flowers are not fully in full bloom at this time. But looking at the state, it seems that it is not far away from being completely open. Walking into the gate of the ancient city side by side, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro finally arrived at the ancient city called Burial Flower, before dark. Entering the ancient city of Burial Flower, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro were also attracted by the things in the ancient city. Perhaps it is because the ancient city has a long tradition and is quite famous, so there are many vendors selling goods here. This makes the ancient city quite lively, with lights and colorful decorations on both sides of the streets and constant shouting. All this is really strange to Luo Zhiro, who has been immersed in cultivation all year round. Luo Zhiro opened her eyes wide and looked at all this with curiosity. But soon, Luo Zhirou's eyes changed slightly. Except for the vendors selling goods, there is only one type of people left in the ancient city. That is Taoist companions from all over the world. In the ancient city at this time, men and women were in pairs, or walking hand in hand under the acacia tree, or feeding each other exquisite food in front of a stall. What's more, Luo Zhiro even saw a man and a woman kissing passionately in a small alley. All this had a huge impact on Luo Zhiro. When it comes to cultivation and killing, Luo Zhiro prides herself on being better at it than anyone else. But when it comes to falling in love like this, Luo Zhiro is really no different from a piece of blank paper. And just when Luo Zhiro was in a daze, she felt her little hand being held tightly by a big hand. At the same time, Si Chen's smiling voice also came. "Madam, it's not a good thing to peek at other people's kisses." No way. When Si Chen discovered his little thoughts, Luo Zhiro rolled her eyes at him shyly. Si Chen leaned close to Luo Zhirou's ear and whispered in her ear, "Madam, should we try it too?" Huh. Luo Zhiro was slightly startled. "What are you trying?" Si Chen pointed at the couple in the alley and whispered. "That." After realizing Si Chen's intention, Luo Zhirou's face instantly turned red with embarrassment. No, she has never seen this kind of situation before, and has never done this kind of thing before. When in town, do as the Romans do. When in town, do as the Romans do. But before Luo Zhiro could finish speaking, she was pulled by Si Chen and ran towards the alley. Soon, Si Chen pulled Luo Zhirou behind the man and woman. Looking at the man and woman who were gnawing fiercely, Si Chen raised his hand and patted the male cultivator on the shoulder. "Brother, are you still busy?" Luo Zhiro. After Si Chen finished speaking, the entire alley fell into silence. The man and woman also separated like an electric shock and looked at Si Chen and Luo Zhiro with confused expressions. Besides Si Chen, Luo Zhiro turned her head to the side hard. She just wanted to express, "I don't know him, I'm not familiar with him." Facing the male cultivator's confused gaze, Si Chen smiled slightly. "Make room for my brother." At this moment, the male cultivator just wanted to say, "Isn't it my brother's fault?" However, Feeling the unfathomable cultivation abilities of Si Chen and Luo Zhiro, he still pulled the crimson-faced female cultivator and walked out of the alley. At the same time, the female cultivator was constantly looking at Si Chen. After all, Si Chen's appearance was extremely lethal to women. After the two people left completely, only Si Chen and Luo Zhiro were left in this secluded alley. At this time, the couple looked at me and I looked at you. Si Chen chuckled. Madam, what can I say, is it okay? Luo Zhirou's expression at this moment can be said to be extremely wonderful. She never thought that Si Chen's social badass would be so serious. You, how can you be so bad? Si Chen said like an old man. There is no way. Who told them to occupy my and my wife's position? I had to drive them away. Now they're gone. Before Luo Zhiro could react, Si Chen held her waist and held her hands above her head with one hand. As a result, Luo Zhiro was knocked into this small alley by Si Chen B. Si Chen lowered his head and looked into Luo Zhirou's eyes. Madam. Feeling the warmth coming from Si Chen's body, Luo Zhiro couldn't help but replay the scene of the man and woman kissing each other just now in his mind. She whispered, the bad guy will be seen. Then use your cultivation to block it. After Si Chen finished speaking, he kissed Luo Zhirou's lips heavily. Faced with Si Chen's domineering kiss, she did not choose to push Si Chen away. Instead, with a tap of his fingertips, a majestic force sealed the entire alley. Then, Luo Zhirou's arms slowly wrapped around Si Chen's neck, tapped her toes, and responded to Si Chen awkwardly. The violent spiritual power that completely sealed the entire alley slowly dissipated, and two figures appeared at the exit of the alley. Si Chen stood there with a faint smile on his face, while Luo Zhiro timidly hid behind Si Chen. There was a faint purple mark on her collarbone, and there was a little water in her eyes. The appearance of the two people instantly attracted the attention of everyone present. Although Luo Zhiro was wearing a white veil at this time, her earthly aura was extremely attractive. The same was true for Si Chen. His handsome appearance and evil smile made the female cultivators around him look sideways. But the two of them didn't care about other people's opinions at all. Si Chen held Pan Luo Zhirou's hand tightly and whispered in her ear. Madam, should we find a place to live, or should we wander around again? Luo Zhiro, who was in a daze, was brought back to reality by Si Chen's words. She looked at Si Chen with watery eyes and said, you decide, I will listen to you. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhiro like this and suddenly had an illusion in his heart. Why do I feel that my wife at this moment does not look like the leader of the demon sect at all, but she feels like a little bird? Si Chen squeezed Luo Zhirou's little hand and said with a smile, then go for a walk. There's no point in going to sleep as soon as you come. Who wants to sleep with you? Luo Zhiro protested in a low voice. Si Chen said with a serious face, Madam, are we just here to sleep? No, we are here to improve our cultivation and better serve the religion. We have a clear conscience. Don't you think so? Hearing Si Chen's vowed words, Luo Zhiro sniffed blankly. Seems to be right, Si Chen said again. So madam, please don't misunderstand me next time. Luo Zhiro always felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't explain it. In the end, she could only let Si Chen pull her towards a stall ahead. There are many novel trinkets placed on the stall, and there is a wooden stake standing next to it, which is filled with candied haws. Si Chen was very skillful in picking at the stall, while Luo Zhiro stood aside and looked at Si Chen with bright eyes. At this time, Si Chen's figure fell into Luo Zhirou's eyes, and his whole body was really radiating a warm light. A moment later, a sky-blue hairband and a golden anklet inlaid with gems appeared in Si Chen's hand. Si Chen stood up and put the hair tie and anklet into Luo Zhirou's hands. Madam, I'll give it to you. Luo Zhiro looked at the two small ornaments in her hands, her eyes curved into a crescent moon, and her long eyelashes trembled. Bad guy, I like it. If it had been in the past, Luo Zhiro might not have come into contact with this kind of mortal product at all. But when Luo Zhiro received the trinket given to her by Si Chen, her heart was filled with deep happiness. Luo Zhiro said as she walked towards the wooden stake filled with candied haws. She pointed at the candied haws, and then winked at Si Chen. Si Chen looked at Luo Zhirou's cute appearance, smiled and said to the boss beside him. Boss, let's skewer the candied haws again. Okay. After paying the stall owner with spirit stones instead of money, Si Chen pulled Luo Zhiro and continued walking forward. Behind them, the owner of the stall was holding the top-quality spiritual stone, and he fell into madness. Just like that, Si Chen and Luo Zhiro walked hand in hand on the lively streets. Luo Zhiro took off her veil, opened her little mouth slightly, and ate the bunch of candied haws very gracefully. And Si Chen's eyes never left Luo Zhirou's face. Noticing Si Chen's gaze, Luo Zhiro slowed down her chewing of candied haws a lot, and a blush flashed across her delicate and pretty face. Bad guy, what are you looking at? Si Chen smiled slightly. I have to say, this lady is so cute. Don't say it, don't say it. Hearing Si Chen's words, the blush on Luo Zhirou's face deepened. As the leader of the White Feather Sect, outsiders always evaluate her as powerful, cold, and cruel. Luo Zhiro has never heard anyone say she is cute. If others dared to say this, Luo Zhiro would definitely make his whole family feel cruel. But when these words came out of Si Chen's mouth, Luo Zhiro was so embarrassed that she even forgot to eat the candied haws in her mouth. At this time, Si Chen suddenly approached Luo Zhirou's face and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Madam, can I give my husband a bite of candied haws on a stick? No, buy it yourself. Luo Zhiro turned around quickly as if she was protecting some extremely precious treasure. No, madam, I wouldn't exploit your husband-in-law like this. Listening to Si Chen's wailing, Luo Zhiro seemed to feel that she had gone too far. So she turned around and handed the candied haws in her hand to Si Chen. Hey, I only allow you to take one bite. Si Chen did not take the candied haws in Luo Zhirou's hand, nor did he take a bite on it, but continued to look at her with smiling eyes. Luo Zhiro looked at Si Chen warily. Bad guy, are you thinking about something bad? Si Chen leaned close to Luo Zhirou's ear and whispered, Madam, do you still remember the last time we ate the ice flame spirit fruit? Quote. At this time, Luo Zhiro finally figured out Si Chen's true intention. He obviously just wants to eat imported candied haws. You, don't even think about it. Luo Zhiro took a vicious bite on the candied haws and said with a bulging mouth. How can you do such a thing in public? As soon as Luo Zhiro finished speaking, Si Chen suddenly pointed behind him and Luo Zhiro. Looking in the direction Si Chen pointed, Luo Zhiro saw a man and woman kissing passionately. And why does Luo Zhiro feel that this man and woman look so familiar? Aren't they the same couple that Si Chen chased away from the alley before? Good guy, this is another place to continue. Seeing the two people's actions, Luo Zhiro turned around shyly. Si Chen said with a look of indignation, how can you do such a thing in public? Madam, I'm going to stop them. Stop, stop, stop. Luo Zhiro rolled her eyes at Si Chen angrily and quickly held him back. Isn't it okay for me, the leader, to feed you? Don't disturb others. I was so embarrassed when you took someone else's position like that before. Ahem. Si Chen coughed lightly and smiled evilly at Luo Zhiro. You bad guy. Luo Zhiro muttered quietly while taking a big bite of the candied haws in her hand. At the same time, she blushed and waved to Si Chen, gesturing for him to come closer. Then, Luo Zhiro stood on tiptoes, approached Si Chen's lips, and pushed the candied haws in Si Chen's mouth with her tongue. After doing all this, a sly smile suddenly flashed in Luo Zhirou's eyes. Si Chen, on the other hand, was carefully tasting the imported candied haws. Gradually, Si Chen's eyes became a little strange. No, madam, you've eaten all the sweets outside, so just give me the sour hawthorns, right? Hearing Si Chen's words, Luo Zhirou's eyes flashed with a playful smile. You deserve it. You deserve it. You bad guy. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.